vacarme s'en va dans l'oubli éternel. Et Gustave, dom guardiam, dilim didididilam, lutessera dodidom, seram, dim dim da 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 dim dim da 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 dim da di dam, dim dim da 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 dim dim da 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 dim da di dam. Dans là-haut sera ravi, les toits à sur noir gris fera. Clair, obscur, trouble de rature, trouvera effet. Clair, obscur, bordé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Clair, obscur, trouble de rature, trouvera effet. Clair, obscur, bordé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Ô clair, obscur, trouble, rature, clair, obscur, guardé aux peintures. Clair, obscur, trouble de rature, couvrera effet. Clair, obscur, guardé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Clair, obscur, trouble de rature, couvrera effet. Clair, obscur, guardé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle. Obscur, trouble de rature, couvrera effet. Clair, obscur, bordé aux peintures, trouvera sans elle.
Hello, my lovely chatters. Are you all excited for today? I think I've been the most hyped for this day in particular for like a hot minute. Like ever since we started to really get into the game, people wanted to know my thoughts. And I found that genuinely fascinating. Because like, who wants to hear, like, there was a time in my life where like people wanted me to stop talking. And now people want me to not stop talking. And my brain's just like, what a whirlwind. If I could go back and tell myself it gets better, fuck you, self. Hell yeah, bro. You imagine? Also, I didn't finish lunch, so bear with me. But could you imagine going your whole life with people being like, you know, oh my God, no one wants you around. And now people are like, I want to know what Nay thinks. And I'm just like, eh? Yeah, I want to know what Nay thinks too. And people are like, you're Nay. You want to know what I think? Damn, really? Really? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And people are like, yes. And today we have a companion. I don't know when he's like actually live on his channel, so we'll see. Bro has not given me. Literally! Ever heard that idea of like a late bloomer? Which is weird because I didn't really bloom late. It's more just like I bloomed when I got rid of most of the shitty people in high school. once I got to college and I kind of could just like not give a shit what people think, you know, that was the upside. My entire life literally got better in college. I found BDSM. That's a true fact. Literally, I was like a couple months shy of like, it was like September. It was like the second fucking month of college, and I got approached by some dude, and I was like, I guess I had like resting bitch face without being hard bitch face. But yeah, that's because he's scared. He's nervous about today, and I think that's cute. I think that's adorable. Also, Tayu, can you hear me? Like, at least on stream? Because you're not responding to DMs. I need your fucking link, bro. I can't bring you on the stream until I have it. I can't on stream. I need your reactive link. I've asked you like 3 times. Are you gonna send it or what? How do you think it's gonna work? What do you do? What were you gonna do? How were you gonna have me on your stream? Did you just want your voice to be in the Netherverse? Tiny T-Hill, hi. Clearly, as you all can see, we put more thought into what we were gonna say than what we were gonna do. Hi T-Hill, hi honey. I have you reactive on my stream. How? Fascinating. Okay. All right. I guess whatever. I guess I'll just do it a different way then. That's fascinating. You probably just have that generic Fugi link, don't you? For whenever you're in like within like a call with people, aren't you? That's my sneaking suspicion. So, okay. I do not have that. I usually expect people to give me their specific like actual person link. So, yeah. I generally expect people to like give me theirs. Squeak, my bud. Okay, this works. All right, are you ready to start talking? Yeah, but how often do I have people that don't have like actual models on my stream, okay?
He has you as rarity pony, doesn't he?
I'm gonna hit you in your glands. Okay, sure. What do you mean, okay, sure? Are you ready to come on or not? I was even gonna give you the microphone, but you're being such a weenie, you know what? That's it. I'm gonna stand here and you're gonna be next to me. That's officially it. You'd get the other side. Ah, I can't type today. All right. Put him on my desk. Damn. Can you tell I do this constantly, chat? There we go. All right. All right, are you there now?
Yes, hello, hi.
Okay. Tell me if he's loud, because he sounds loud to me, so I want to know if he's loud to anyone else.
Like
I'm going to have to make you bigger, because you're very tiny. I mean, I don't mind towering over you, but I don't know if you want me to tower over you.
I did make you tower over me in my stream. I think it's just true to life.
All right, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Tayu, your emotional support animal, and I am very well prepared right now. And hang on.
Yeah?
I still need to go live on YouTube and stuff.
Thank you for the lurk, Vivian. I love you, honey. Okay, well, while he does that, I'm gonna lay a few. While I doubt that I need them fully, I'm gonna turn down the music in the background as well. I'm gonna have music, but I don't want it to be like oppressive. So. Okay, as a remembrance, what I say is what I mean, what I think. What he says is what he thinks and what he means. Okay? That shouldn't be a problem because I know that y'all are usually good about this, but I just want to make sure that people understand that what he says is what he says. What I say is what I say. Unless he says he agrees with me and then he puts his own contenders or stuff on it. That's what should be. What he says is his opinion. What I say is my opinion. And we want people to disagree with us, but like, there's a way to disagree. But like, I doubt I'm gonna have to repeat this or even need to mention it at all, but I'm gonna do it just to make sure that I know that I said it. But like, I am more used to people having strong opinions, but like, phrase your opinions as like neutrally as you can, just so that he doesn't, you know, feel like you're getting upset with him. I understand strong opinions. I understand the way people feel about things, but I want to make sure you don't tell people, oh my God, you don't understand it. People can understand things differently without being wrong. That's the whole point, is that people are understanding it differently. Unless it's been outlined in the game, there is no right or wrong. I want to make sure people understand that as well. Just because people talk very sure about something doesn't mean they are. Okay? I don't think we're gonna have this problem generally, but apparently the division over this game that I have been looking into on the internet is, in a word, strong. Like, y'all don't know how strong opinions are about this game. I just want to make sure that you all feel heard, but we also feel heard. The problem is we don't know. We're just talking about our opinions from our POV. That's the whole point. It's not, I don't want people to necessarily feel they have to buy into my opinion, and I'm not necessarily going to buy into your opinion, and that's fine. The only thing that I hope to accomplish, which I will ask Teo what he hopes to accomplish by doing this when he's done, I want people to like agree that there is no good ending. That's it. That's all I want. That's the only thing I hope for, is that there is no good ending. That's all I want. I swear to God, the fact that people keep thinking that one ending is the good ending drives me up the wall. Because that's literally not the point. So.
Hi, Moore. I think you're gonna enjoy the stream.
All right, Tay, what do you hope to accomplish? Also, I don't see your chat at all.
Oh, you don't?
No,
man.
do you see ours?
I don't know.
I do not see anyone in your chat
talking. I do
talking.
see yours. I don't know. I don't know how this whole thing works. Like, I've never done this before. I really didn't. I really should have bothered you more about like how we're gonna do this exactly. But
I've done it a couple times and I've never had this problem. So.
You know, I don't know. It's opening a new window for like the guest star thing, but it's not working. We're talking about Clair Obscur.
Obscur.
Obscur. C'est franche. I don't know. I keep getting an error message too.
I'm not getting an error.
Don't know what to make of that.
I may just have to keep it open on.
Yeah, sorry about that. I also seem to have like a really unstable upload thing right now.
But I can't see if maybe we leave the original one. Stop! I hate it here. Stop everything you're doing. Cease.
Wait, no, my chat also stopped being like showing yours. Man.
I left that one. Let's just try another one. Just leave the one that you're in.
Okay. I guess I might have already done that somehow. I don't know.
Good ending up to the player, which there is true endings, is what the creators define of the things should have ended. Je ne sais quoi obscur. Stop! I hate everything about y'all.
Huh? The premise sounds very similar to Children of the Whales. Interesting. Makes me want to watch that anime. So where did you already invite me?
I did, yes.
Ah, there it shows. Okay.
Yeah.
Guest star thing couldn't be loaded is what it says.
It says on mine some streamers aren't live yet.
Huh. Is Twitch being a jerk?
I wonder if they're having issues with it today, because it says that mine is a shared chat is enabled.
Huh. It also says
that we're sharing chat.
It does say that, yeah.
I swear, we're having fun.
Hang on. let me try a thing. Test
Connection.
and test.
Oh,
Okay.
I see it. There we go.
All right.
We got it. Cool.
We got it.
Okay.
So, yeah, what I'm trying to accomplish is honestly, I mean, very similar to what you have in mind. Like, I mean, I'm honestly just happy to be here, to be quite honest. But also, you know, we do share like this, the main idea here, which is that like it's not black and white; it is Clair Obscur. That is a very different thing. You know, like. I like the way I put it when I talk with you about it is like it's very understandable that people get like really passionate about these endings and you know about why they're supposed to be like the correct one or not, you know, because it is very fundamentally about the way we interact with stories, and also like the way we interact with stories is that we project a lot, right? And you basically have three camps. Like you have one camp that is like you know, that takes the story at face value and you know thinks that everything that happens in the story is just the way that it is in the story, that like all these people that we saw as real are real, and like you know it's very understandable that you feel very passionately about that, not just because like you get like emotionally attached, but also like especially if you you know if you I just had this brain thing happen about like, you know, I simulate conversation sometimes, and I started thinking like, you know, I might say some things that might sound upsetting in some way. Like I'm the resident verso apologist, basically. And you know, if you hear that, you might think like, man, Tayu, you agree with genocide, basically? Is that what you're saying? And it's like, no. Agreeing with, you know, sympathizing with verso basically means saying that these people aren't really real. But then when you say that, then it sounds like, oh shit, you know, that's how genocide starts too, is like that you dehumanize people, you know. So anyone, I understand that like anyone, especially who has dealt with like feeling dehumanized and stuff, will feel very passionately about not letting that happen. But yeah, then on the other hand, you have people, you know, who are probably, I don't think that the people who agree with the verso side of things are necessarily the majority, but I think they probably are the loudest, because like I think, you know, it makes sense that like you would take the story as it is and see these people as people, which makes all the sense, right? It's hard to argue against that. But like, I think that people who like really sympathize with like, you know, seeing the story as like allegory, that those people are like, oh yeah, you know, you guys just don't understand it. It's like really deep and intelligent stuff, you know? So those people are going to be like really obnoxious about it, I think. And then, you know, you have on the other hand, you know, team third option who are just like, can't we all just like communicate, please? So yeah.
Okay, are you finished?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, because I was gonna ask you, why don't you introduce yourself and then I do the same.
Sorry.
Going way more into it than I thought you would.
Sorry, I got really anxious and started like really preparing stuff in my head, and then it started just pouring out. Hi, this is Tayu, your emotional support animal. I'm trying to be a mental health content creator and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah. I do hope to make some video essays and stuff eventually about stuff like this, you know, about media analysis and you know, approaching the world in a more thoughtful way. And yeah. And yeah, I talked to Nay before the stream, like about, you know, I'm very anxious about this stuff, I'm not very good at like staying staying calm and collected when there's a lot of like strong emotions and arguments and stuff. So yeah, that's why I started talking about that. Is like if you feel very strongly about something that I say, then like please give me the benefit of the doubt and assume that I tried my best to be a good person. And sometimes that means trying to really see all angles of an issue, and sometimes that makes me say like stuff that sounds harsh. So just try to approach it like, hey, Tayu, this sounded like this. Are you really saying that? But I would really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm done.
Can I introduce myself now?
Yes, please.
You sure?
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. It's the anxiety. I
can tell. You gotta relax. Just remember, when I'm asking a question, like just answer just the question.
Okay.
I was trying to like structure things in a way where you won't feel anxious, and then you ended up being anxious. And
sorry.
Hello, Tayu's chat and my chat. Yes, I know that some of you may have an interesting POV of me, especially from Tayu's chat. But yes, I do have deep thoughts beyond just very crude humor. I have an English degree, so I've done creative writing. I'm in the midst of writing my own book. So doing this kind of stuff is something that me and my chat have done in the past, but we've never sat down and done it like this. So when I saw the very polarizing and reactive opinions based on this, I thought Tay would be someone to get involved on this, just because. Tiny little call out to Tayu. Sorry, honey. I think this is adorable. But one of the first games that I played that I like had Tayu sit in with was the oh goodness, what was it? That game about Edith Finch, Tayu came in with that, and he ended up typing something that I'm gonna phrase it better than it probably sounded at the time. He basically said that he liked the whole way that I had like explored the game. Chat may remember that game. That was the one about the family that had everyone kind of like a very sort of series of unfortunate circumstances. It was a very reflective game about life and death, and Tayu felt quite impressed, I'm gonna say. Probably not the best word, but I'm not sure what would be a better one at this moment, by the way that we talked about it, because that's what we've done on this channel. We, especially in the last year, we've started exploring more emotionally heavy games, especially realizing that, it is a type of art, and this game specifically, hand in hand, did art and gaming. So when people wanted to know my thoughts about it, I thought this would be a good one to have someone that was probably a bit on the other side of the fence than I was. I'm not saying that Tayu has to be an apologist, but I do get why he feels that way. The problem that I have is that while I have a strong opinion, I do very much see the other side, and I feel like I want people to do the same. Just because it's not how you feel doesn't mean that you should just dismiss the other side. That's why I thought Tayu and I would be good people to talk, is that we can do that. And it takes a lot of emotional maturity to do that kind of thing. To have someone say, I see your opinion, I understand why you feel the way that they do, but I don't have the same value system. Because that's essentially what it comes down to, is it's different value systems, what we prioritize, what we hold to be most important. So, and I'm gonna move the head pad so you all head pad Tayu. He could use it.
Oh, thank you.
He definitely needs the head pads. There. Now, if you head pat, you head pat Tayu. So, yeah. I think this is gonna be an interesting game. I'm hoping, kind of through it, that I can show more than just my chat, that I'm more than just a chaotic VTuber. I have many thoughts up in here. Tayu thinks that I'm quite smart. I don't know if I agree with that.
No, you're incredibly smart.
I think I'm just thoughtful, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being thoughtful is just a way of being smart, right?
It depends on your POV. So I don't know if Tayu's chat has played the game, but do you want to you and I together explain what the premise of the game is?
Well,
in the shortest terms possible.
How would we do it together? Just kind of pass it back and forth.
Explain part of it. Yeah, basically.
So, the premise is you start off in this world that seems like Paris, but just kind of weird, and then you learn that there's this um, thing happening every year where people at an increasingly lower age get just eradicated from the world because apparently of the paintress who keeps updating this countdown for the age that people can reach. And then they set off on their yearly expedition to try and find a way to stop her. But then
Well, the thing that I was going to add is that what they do is in their particular society, they do hold the act of this vanishing as the gommage as a yearly thing, and it has very complex. This isn't just a game that's like, oh, they're vanishing. They have very complex feelings that we've explored like from the get-go of the game. We follow in the beginning, his name is Gustav, and we find out that he basically hoped to have children. And we find out that his partner, Sophie, did not want children because she didn't want her children to grow up without her because she will die before her children age. So the game is very upfront with the fact of this is not a game where it's just this is happening. The game is very present with the fact that people in this universe have thoughts about their experience and their lives and the expeditions. The expeditions are basically like they're numbered down. They started, which is weird. It started at Expedition 0. And the action of where the painters came from, because that's not how their world always was. They call it the fracture, which happened 67 years ago. So now we're on Expedition 33, and everyone that's in Expedition 33 is 32. So that's the thing, is when you get to 33, you gommage. So they have about a year. And you can explain what happens.
Yeah, I guess I'm better at the broad strokes, and you can fill in the details, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Then we learn more and more that while Gustav is our viewpoint protagonist from the beginning, the story seems to revolve a lot around Mael. She keeps recognizing things from everywhere. Things keep seeming familiar, and eventually, spoiler for the end of Act 1, Gustav just dies.
Is killed.
And, yeah, he is killed. Very much that, yeah. Also, yeah, also thing I should mention is that, when they first arrive at that continent, their opponent who kills most of the expedition is actually a man, an old man. And that, is going to be a very important thing.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the first questions they ask when they reach the continent, is that the leader of the expedition asked, how were you old? Because in their world, no one has the ability to get old. They die before they usually do, especially in Expedition 33. Everyone's only 32. That's considered an old man, but that's not old in the traditional sense. So, and as we realize is that they have very strong feelings, like I said, about the expeditions. They all have their own mottos, their own way of approaching. Gustav is the one that basically uses a Lumina converter. He's the one that made it. So they have Pictos, which essentially makes them probably one of the more OP expeditions, because they sort of figure out, yes, one of. There are several. There are several out there that really, and each of them sort of has their own way of approaching it. Like one expedition took a giant Ferris wheel across, one took cars across, one used music. They all have their own sort of like defining factor to how they're approaching their expedition. So yeah, that's one way to view it. And that they all have very distinct thoughts. How do they recognize age if they live in a society in which no one can reach that age? Just by counting down how old people are. Like one of the opening things that they realize is that it's sort of like when it's your gommage day, you will wear a wreath of flowers that are red and white. That's one of the first things we see is Sophie talking to one of her friends, and she says, oh, I didn't realize this was your gommage year. So because you don't really know, that's sort of like your only like real indicator of how old somebody really is that if you suddenly see them on gommage day wearing the flowers, then you realize, oh gosh, you're 33. So at that point, it doesn't really seem to be one of those things that they really delve into beyond that. But
It also just hasn't been like that long since the maximum age was like relatively high.
wow,
So
67
like,
years.
yeah. So like, like 10 years ago, people could still reach like, what we would now think of as middle age. So,
And the thing is that most people of the expedition are usually like the age of 4. There were people that joined previous expeditions being younger or older. Like Mael's only 16. So she says Elle has 8 more years, but she's inherently telling Gustav, who hopes that she won't join, there's nothing for me here. So she feels alienated, which is why she joins the expedition, is that she wants to give some purpose to her life. So, but they all have their own like viewpoints. Like in the early game, Mael ends up at the beach. Mael ends up vanishing. She's one of the few people that does survive. But Gustav meets Lune, and he wants to go find Mael. And they have a purpose. They have a journey. And she says, and he says, fuck the expedition, the whole thing that they've come for. And Lune's like, fuck the expedition. Remember, our motto is when one falls, we continue. Not if, but when. So the game definitely explores how they feel about it. It's not something they just ignore, which is, in my opinion, quite refreshing. There are a couple of things that the game kind of seems to skirt around, but the game definitely does give in that the people that have joined the expeditions genuinely believe in them. They genuinely believe that eventually they will get it. There are certain people around them that definitely feel like the expeditions are a waste of time. Like Gustav's sister doesn't really want him to go, but he goes anyway. So
yeah, that's an interesting bit. Is that like Gustav's sister? She has a high political position in Lumiere. I think she's the mayor or something.
I believe so.
And she thinks of it as more of a a propaganda thing, like to keep morale up, to give people the idea that something is happening. Hi there, Crystal. But yeah. Another thing that's interesting is like all the remaining surviving members of the expedition find themselves somewhere strewn about like the continent, and Mael, they meet in a manor, being cared for by this strange being called the what was it called? The curator. And yeah, he has this interesting look to him, like a person who is like who doesn't have a face and is like kind of made of rock or something. And yeah, keep that in mind.
That is part of it, is that in all of these years, none of the expeditions have made it. None of the expeditions have killed the painters and been able to come back. So they do see it as kind of a waste, because there are less and less people joining the expeditions every year, but everyone has their own motivations for joining the expedition. The game makes abundantly clear what the motivations for our party that we find. Their names are Lune, Ciel, Gustav, Mael. We are well aware of why they join. We don't find out immediately, but they do make it very clear in the game that they have they're not doing this for the same reason. So, but the short end of it is that we essentially find out that, I'll just go ahead and rip off the band-aid, they are creations in a sentient canvas. And that the paintress essentially is giving a countdown to how much of their life she can continue to hold on to based on the chroma that they have. Basically, this painting is something that 2 people outside of the painting are fighting over. So, you want to take it over from there? We can kind of rush into the explanation.
Yeah, so the thing is that this canvas was created by those 2 people's son, Verso.
Middle son. They have 3 children.
Middle son, yes. And Verso is also, in a way, the person who we meet just after Gustav's death. And he's gonna be a subject of heated discussion, because like he doesn't let his expedition that he joins, the rest of Expedition 33, know a lot of things, because he just his goal is to stop the paintress because he believes basically in the same viewpoint as his his actual original Timo Gustav. He is a copy made by the paintress of her son. The paintress name being Aline in real life, and his father Renoir wants to get her out because she ran apparently she eventually basically ran into that painting of Gustav's to keep him alive for herself, basically.
Versos. You said Gustav.
And what was that?
You said you ran into the painting of Gustav's. It's Versos.
Ah, yes.
Child Verso. Child Verso
yes,
made
Child
this
Verso.
painting.
Yes. And yeah, he wants to stop her because he does believe, for one thing, that she is killing herself. She is not facing reality and killing herself in the process of that escapism.
Basically, she's the real person outside the painting, and basically by sitting there, it's sort of taking her life forces, essentially. We don't have these specifics. It's just said that being there is causing her to wither away. We're not 100% sure how or why. It doesn't fully outline that. It just says that by doing that, she will, by committing herself in there, it will decline her health and eventually kill her.
I think that's one of those interesting things where, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter how it works. It's just, it's easy to understand that if your soul, your mind is in this kind of other state, in this kind of other dimension sort of thing, and it's outside of your real body, then it's understandable that your real body, that thing that ties you to reality, is going to deteriorate. It's just like with any other thing, when you're it's even just the simple act of taking care of yourself is something that you're not doing. You're not taking care of your body, not your body other needs, or even just the fact you need a certain mindfulness. Mindfulness is being there, right there in the moment, and it does wonders for your health. And if you don't have that, it kills you. It increases your stress levels and all that stuff.
See, here we go. Our first disagreement. I think it does matter for one particular reason only, is that Clair says it's not that dire. They've spent longer at other canvases before. So this is not something. So they seem to have almost a bit of a flippant sort of approach to it. Is in they've spent longer in other canvases and it wasn't that big of a deal at the time. It just is now because they don't see an end in sight. I think that's the problem. So I do think to a degree it matters because it's one of those things where it's a caution, but it's not a big a caution that apparently that they've disregarded even more for longer before this instance. That's why I think it does matter.
That is an interesting point. I think what that kind of implies is that Renoir is convinced that she is not planning to come out anytime soon.
I agree. I think that's the reason that it makes it dire, but I'm just saying that it doesn't matter how it works is a bit short-sighted because they've done it before and they've done it longer and they didn't really technically give that much of a shit. No offense. We know this specifically because of the way that Clay says it. Granted, I genuinely believe her because she is a bit pragmatic about it.
Yeah, it's more I tend to more towards the allegorical side of things. So I don't care much for necessarily, unless it's really important for how things work. But I don't usually care much for the mechanics of the world, but rather just for the implications of it regarding the narrative. So like,
Well, I
yeah.
think it does matter. If you're establishing something, then it has to be for a purpose. I specifically have brought this up in writing that if you're going to establish something, it has to have a point to it. Otherwise, there's no sense on having it. That's what they tell you in writing. That just because you want something to matter doesn't mean it does. Just because you want to tell the reader doesn't mean they need to know it. So if you're pointing it out, there has to be a reason to it. Genuinely, especially in things in this game where there is so much that's specifically underlined and point. I think this is one of those instances that it's being mentioned for a purpose. So
Yeah,
that's just I'm gonna approach things a bit from the writing perspective. I brought it up a lot, so that's the reason. I think it's like I think there's like a specific word for it.
Yeah, what I mean is like, I think there's a reason why they didn't really go into detail on like what exactly happens that like kills you if you stay too long in the canvas, because it's just like staying too long in the canvas just kills you. It's just a thing that happens, and you know, it just intuitively makes sense. And you know, for the Renoir side of things, for the allegorical side,
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying I'm going sort of by the. Have you ever heard the narrative principle Chekhov's gun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. That's sort of what I'm saying. Like, why mention it if it's not that serious? So, unfortunately, I'm going to kind of come from that. But that's what I'm saying is I feel like this is where you and I are going to disagree a bit. Does it matter inherently? Sure. But what I'm saying is if you're fighting over this one in this instance, but you're saying that, oh, it's not been that big a deal in previous instances, I do think you're being slightly hypocritical. That's my point. Is that I think that it underlines to who they are as people to be hypocritical. So.
You know, I don't even see a disagreement here. I just, you know, yeah, I just thought it was interesting like that they don't really explain the mechanics necessarily. That's what
There's a lot of things that are kind of left vague. Like, if you know, like, we don't know when exactly between, you know, Verso dying and her joining the Candace. And I think that that does matter. Because again, it speaks to how they reacted, how they're dealing with it, why suddenly this particular thing, like, because that's the thing is that it speaks to who they are as people. And this is one of the things that I wanted people to like understand and sit down, because everyone's like, oh, Verso's ending is better, which for the record, for those of you that are unaware of the endings, I will explain Mael's, Teo will explain Verso's. And Mael's ending, basically it comes down to where they've basically defeated Renoir. They go in, and this is in the heart of the Candace. You see childhood Verso's soul. Basically, the collab chat is gone again. What the fuck, man?
What?
Apparently it vanished again.
Heck.
I'm guessing it might be down. I'll keep explaining even when I say it. Basically, Verso and Mael both go inside to where child Verso's soul is painting. Oh yeah, it said you left.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
I sent you another invite.
I didn't do anything. Ah. Is it working again?
Okay, there we go again. Okay, so basically they go into the heart of the painting where you see what is implied to be child Verso's piece of his soul is painting. Verso tries to ask him if he wants to stop, which I think is a whole nother can of worms in itself, depending on how you view the whole instance, which we will get into. I think that there's something to say there. Some people on Reddit have brought up a few things I thought were interesting. But basically, he asks him to stop. We see him nod. Mayu interrupts, and they basically decide to fight. Because it's basically a matter of, if she leaves the Candace, Renoir will burn it. He will destroy the Candace so that his mother can never get back into it. And Verso thinks that she will never leave. Basically, Mael's saying, what more is for me out there? I will leave. I will have it. You know? Everyone's convinced that she won't leave. I don't know. It's never said that. Verso says she's lying. I don't know if he's necessarily the greatest judge of that, because he can't even admit to himself that he's lying, personally. But they fight. Basically, if you're on Mael's side, Mael wins. He says, please, you know, I don't want this life. I'm tired. Unpaint me. Unpaint me. And at the very last second, as he's fading away, you hear Mael ask, if you had a reason to grow old, would that give you a reason to smile? And then you see a giant music hall. Everything's in black and white. You see Verso, because at one point he explained that he wanted to be a musician. You see him approaching a piano with CL, Lune, everyone there watching him, and he kind of pauses for a minute and begins to play the piano. And then it cuts to Mayel, who has what it looks to be, depending on your POV, people disagree about it, either her face is decaying in the same way that Paintress has started to. Basically, she's missing a face. You can see inside of her face. Lost it again. Fuck, brah!
What is going on there?
I don't know. It's still going away. I may just have to like leave up the window and just re-adding you forever. Sheesh. Hey, doesn't want to stream together. Clearly, that's the problem. He does not want to be here.
I do want to be here.
But yeah, basically, either she's got her face is decaying, or it's an ink splatter on there. I added it again. We'll see if it stays this time. For the record, it's worth knowing that the reason that Verso is gone in the real world is that Mayel befriended the writers, a rival, I guess, form of expression, and that led to them being brought into the house. They set a house fire, and Verso sacrificed himself so that Mayel would live, but Mayel did not come out of it unscathed. She has massive burns all over her face, she has no voice, and she's missing an eye. So she's very heavily scarred. And it's worth knowing that her mother painted a version of her that was also heavily scarred and voiceless. So, and she's one of the only people in black and white. Everybody else that she painted was in color. So, what was Verso's ending?
My God, that never even occurred to me.
Yeah, in black and white.
Verso's ending. Basically, yeah, he reassures Mile that, like, you know, she is gonna, you know, what does he reassure her of? You know, while she's fading away, fading out of the canvas, he reassures her that things are gonna be okay, you know, like she's, you know, he insisted before then that, like Renoir said, you have to face reality as it is, not as you want it to be. And yeah, she fades out of the canvas, like, and then, you know, he meets again with SKA and Monoko, his old friends from the canvas, and I don't actually remember the details very well. Yeah, he takes also CL and Lune, you know, the other expedition members. They, you know, CL isn't even mad at him, just comes to him and it's like, you know, comes close to him, but not too close. And it's just standing there like wistful, like, okay. And Lune is all like, I see. Okay, just sits down because,
her
you know,
looks could kill.
Yeah. And then, you know, they fade away and, you know, Luna was fucking staring daggers at him, yeah. And yeah, he takes little boy, Verso, who painted the canvas, by the hand, and, you know, they walk off and just disappear into nothingness. And then there's, you know, the funeral where, you know, the family is all like bittersweet, you know, but, you know, alive, I guess, by his grave. And, you know, there's still all these, you can tell from the atmosphere that, like, there's still all these chasms between them all. Like, the, you know, the parents, they seem to have come to an agreement, I guess, but like there's a yeah, there are gaps there between them. And meanwhile, Mael sees the last little image of like all these people from the canvas, that she lost fade away in front of her, and that's the end. Scarring? Did I say scarring?
No, I think they meant that what Carmine said. I think he means
Oh.
scathing. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
scathing.
I think we could approach this in one of a couple of ways.
Hmm.
Do you want to, like, I guess, explain your thoughts on each ending?
Um. So yeah,
Exhale, Felicity.
each ending is like kind of is very bittersweet because, like, you know, on one hand, like I guess, you know, the makers have gone on record saying that, like, the game is very much about the way we approach art, and they didn't want to, you know, say that like one way is necessarily better. So they show like very clear downsides to just picking one and sticking with only that. You know, like for Mael's ending, you know, like she I think what is happening there is that, like, you know, what you see in front of her face is basically it's, you know, we've seen that before. It's what you see in the real world when, like, you know, her parents are standing in front of the canvas. They are kind of frozen in place and have these like ink splatters in front of their eyes. And she has basically supplanted the goddess in this cycle. She is keeping this whole world and Verso and stuff alive, even though he is a dead man, and just, you know, is living this escapist fantasy, which, you know, also doesn't feel super happy because, like, I think we lost the chat again, but
Still there for me.
like you can see in her face that, like, she looks like at any moment she is ready to start crying or something. Like, her smile is very ambiguous the whole time. And, you know, obviously Verso, he doesn't seem very happy at all during that whole thing. And meanwhile, you know, for Verso's ending, you know, this whole potential, this whole beauty of this entire world is destroyed. Like, everyone has to face reality now. And, you know, if you're on the allegorical side, like, hey, that's a good message. Like, you know, don't lose yourself in escapism and stuff like that. It's, you know, it's not a bad message in itself. But, like, you disregarded so much for that. You destroyed so much, and was it really necessary? Like, could you not just have left it alone? Did you have to assume that it was going to destroy it so much? Did you have to assume that, like, people were going to take to do things that they couldn't take back? Like, could you not, like, have just, you know, let things calm down and then, like, better learn in the long run to, you know, to learn to deal with that whole situation instead of just, you know, burning the whole thing down just to, you know, make it easier not to have to deal with it? Because in the end, you know, you see the family is still fragmented. They, you know, Mael said, like, it's not gonna actually help us get over it. And, you know, that is true. Like, they are objectively, you know, living in the real world and stuff like that, but, like, did they really come closer towards, like, being able to process that day? Did they really come closer to understanding each other? I don't know. What's up?
No, I just didn't want to interrupt you if you were done talking.
All right, I'm done.
I appreciate the way that you see the ending, which is one of the reasons I wanted you here, because everybody, when you talk about it, seems to have a bit of an I'm going to put it as delicately as I can, a bit of an overreach to it. especially when it comes to versus ending. They're like, oh, now that they're out here, they can do this. They're gonna get better. And my question is always the same. Well, where do you have proof of that? We don't see that. Lowen's like, well, it looks better. For who? Yes, the family's together, but if you notice, they stare at the grave for a minute, and then Clair goes right back off to what she was doing. She literally, like, leaves within seconds. She just stands there, and even Alicia tries to look at her, and Clair just looks at the grave and then turns around and goes, I got stuff to do. Like, she's always been laser focused on revenge. Like, it literally doesn't explain any, like, it doesn't show any real thing. It's just, you see the mother and the dad hugging, which is good. They're trying to finally look inward to each other, but Clay is still going back to what she was. She has no qualms with focusing on what she's doing. It literally shows that both of them are, in my opinion, representing the three phases of time. Mael is still stuck where she was. That's why she has the SKA plushie in the past. The parents are here, finally in the present, but Clay is still only looking to the future. I think that's the sort of way that I understand the ending. Is because literally, that's why she has the plushie, is that she's thinking about what was. They're thinking about what, and she's thinking of what will be, which I don't think is much better. It's the whole point was supposed to bring you all together as a family to deal with it, but it still shows that they're still the same people in the end. And sure, there's the possibility that things could begin to get better, but we don't see that. And I think people that are using that as to be like, well, it could. Sure, I'm not saying it can't. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it can't get better, but we don't see that. If the writers wanted us to see that, they would have showed us. They're just showing you, here is the whole thing. Burying herself in her work, ignoring the issue at present. Yeah, she's just like, well, and I think that in some ways, I think that Claire is probably dealing it with the best and the worst, because revenge is not a good path. But the fact that she's just like, he's gone, there's nothing I can do to change that, is a good thing in some ways. But that's only because she's focusing all of her energy on something else. I think that's the highlight, is they're all focusing on different things.
But not each
Renoir's
other.
literally, by holding his wife, he's saying, be present with me. I saw it in a little bit differently than I think some people did. I saw it not fully, but slightly controlling, as in like, here, you're with me. Focus on me. Don't look there. I'm right here. We can still, and I'm just like, bruh, like, come on now. And the fact that you literally did this all as sacrificing what your daughter, like, she's not gonna get better. That's the thing that I really wish people would see, is that they're still the same people. There's not, them being pushed out of a canvas didn't bring about some new revelation for them. And I feel like so many people want to see it as though they're better people, but that requires real hard and intensive work. Like, therapy is a real thing, and it's not something that just immediately becomes like, you don't just suddenly gain an enlightenment one day. You can tell because they're all still focused on the same thing they were. She's still focused on what was Mael, and Mael's focused on the fact, I got my wife now, and Clay is like, I can go back to doing what I was doing before. They're not different people. And all you've done is take one of the few things away from your daughter. While I understand it, I get it. People are like, his soul was in there. That we'll get to that part. Do I think Mael's ending is inherently better? No, but I do think that hers sort of has the idealism of someone young and her age. And I think that that's, if you only want to see, oh God, versus doing what he doesn't want to do, that's terrible. Sure. But you're ignoring it in Verso's ending. You made Mael do something she doesn't want to do. Like, but everyone loves to gloss past that. And I think that that's kind of what bothers me, is everybody's like, well, she can get better now. But will she? Well, she can try. And I always give the same thought of, okay, isn't that just your hope there? That there's no concrete proof to that. And that's what I'm saying, is I don't think Mael's ending is better. I think it's still bleak, but a different kind of bleak. I can see her hopefulness and the fact of, here, I'm trying to help my brother relive something new. Literally, like she says, if you could grow old, would it give you reason to smile? She was hoping to let him live out the life he could have had by having him do music. Do I understand it? Yes. Do I think it was right? No. But again, that's the point. I don't agree with it. It's not what I would do. I would have tried to find a third option, as I know Tae would. He's also camp. Let's find a third option. But at the same time, we know that what they've done are two very drastic extremes.
I do actually think that Miles' ending has the most potential to turn out good, because like the main issue with her is like if she never actually leaves from the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the least was lost in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Irreparably. But yeah, it feels like cautionary. It feels like, like saying, hey, you can find this place that brings you happiness and stuff, but like you can also lose yourself in that, and I think it's important that like she doesn't seem fully super happy in this.
Tis only the flame
alternative
quivering at
way
misguided
things played out.
ash. Please avert
Because,
thine
like,
eyes. I will snuff out these ashes for
that's
good.
this is like the one thing
Let
that I
this
took
be a
away from
remembrance of
watching
this cold world.
watching a video essay by Jacob Geller about this, is that art cannot be an escape because it will always reflect you back.
Exactly. I agree with that.
You will always know, like, I am here because of this reason, and it won't actually let you escape. It can only help you get stronger to actually live in the real world. But yeah, hi Raiders.
Hello, Raiders! I am Nanius Helenix, resident Snowfall Witch, Yuki-Onna VTuber, and variety streamer. No, not at all. We're just talking about the ending of Clair Obscur with my friend here too.
Hi. Should I introduce myself?
Yes.
Oh,
You really
hi.
shorter one this time.
This is Tay, your emotional support animal. I'm a mental health content creator and want to make video essays and stuff. Yeah.
I actually have to disagree with one point that you made, that her ending is somewhat more optimistic for one reason and one reason only. Well, I guess it's one reason with two sub reasons. And it's because if you notice in the scene where they're going into the music hall, everybody other than our main cast has very generic looks to them. Her ability to paint is very limited. They don't have the same rich depth that they did. And I think that's the problem, is that she's sort of, her ability to capture the people that she knew the most was good. Everybody else that she didn't really interact with, she was limited in her potential to capture them and have them have lives, because they all look the same. If you start to look at them, they're very like Monoko, Esuke, the people she spent time with knew what they looked like. She had their like Verso said, she had their essence, their verisimilitude. She didn't know the rest enough to paint them very broadly. That's why it's the only people that seem to have definitively like defined faces are the main cast. I think the kids in there, Monoko, Esuke, and I think the mayor, like Gustav's sister. Everybody else looks very generic. You can tell whenever they're behind the back of their heads, everybody looks very much the same. Her ability to paint is limited.
I never even noticed that even that further intensifies that point, that like it just reflects you back at yourself.
And I think that's the thing, is that I understand her wanting to have something, but she only has so much potential. That's the problem, is that her power in here is only so limited, which I think is supposed to be sort of a reflection on her real life self too. She only has so, even though her dad wants her to reach for the stars, she doesn't have the ability. Especially now, she doesn't have the ability. I think it's sort of a mirror on her as a person and as a painter. I think it would be one thing if she had been able to become a writer, because clearly her room was filled with books, a typewriter, that kind of stuff. I think her potential is that may have been why in some ways Renoir is a bit more like, I guess, he says that, he kind of favorites her, the reacher, the whole thing is that she was never someone that necessarily felt the need to combat each other with their painting, like the Clair record, Clair, stop pulling your sister's hair, she never really felt the need to sort of combat, she never went into the painting as a kid because she wasn't a painter. That wasn't her thing. That wasn't where she felt like she could thrive. And I think that's the problem, is that in her world, it further reflects her inability, her lack of power, her lack of potential in this medium. So that's sort of what I think it says. His secret favorite. Oh, I don't remember hearing that, but it's possible that he does. But that's kind of where I feel, is that it's sort of an unfortunate again, realization that she is still limited in potential. And that's why I feel like his ending, that's the thing I want specifically people to understand about Versus ending, is that you're like, oh, well, she can go out there and do so much. Can she? She has a scarred face. We know that regardless of how much we'd like to be different, society will judge her. She's missing an eye. Regardless of how much we want it to be different, society will judge her. She has no voice. She has no way to advocate for herself. We're lucky that to a degree, her family understands her sounds, for lack of a better word, but still, that won't take her very far. I saw one comment that I wanted to ask you about. Someone said that the difference between the writers and the painters could be somewhat reflective of like the French aristocracy, that painting was very much a rich people thing to do, rich people thing that you could do. Like if you had the potential and you had backers, you could write, whereas anyone could own a typewriter and write things, which is why writing was more accessible to people beyond the aristocracy. And that this may be also a commentary on that, on the reason why they attacked the painters. You know, they attacked the Salange house, is that they were, it's sort of like a small inference on the French Revolution, you know, usurping, uprising against those that have all versus those that have not.
I never thought about that. I never put too much thought into like what the deal is with the writers. The only thing, if I can go on a little tangent there, the only thought I have about like the fact that there's this war going on, the only thing that interests me about that is that it gives this framing device of like violence on like another level. Like this whole story you could see as cycles of violence getting repeated. And I think it's very interesting that like they place this family in which these cycles of violence take place and put them into a context where violence has came from above, basically from a higher layer, and rippled down into them to now cause further violence further down into in a whole another world even, you know.
Which I think is a further sort of inference on the sort of class between, you know, those who are living in a whole nother world, but they don't necessarily bother themselves with those below. That's sort of like that's very much what led to the French Revolution, is that they felt that the aristocracy couldn't be bothered with the plight of the young, of the people underneath. And this is in some ways a grander thing, because they are the gods. Some of them, they don't care what happens. The Gomage, the people that they brought in, they don't care what happens to them. Aline does to an extent, because it's partially her escapism, partially her creation, but Renoir definitely doesn't care.
True. There is something there, yeah.
I think he cares to a degree, because he recognizes, he even says to them, and I understand it's unfair that you've been caught up in this, but still, he's not changing what he's doing. In the end, he does not care. It's of little consequence to him or Clair.
Yeah, I guess he kind of sees them as like kind of NPCs or something, basically.
Yeah, that's essentially what some people, which is somewhat of what the internet sees them as too, is that they're not real people. Their plight, their loss is not something that needs to be weighed into the final decision. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like, I guess, he probably sees it kind of like, maybe like animals. Like, you know, you can, it's unfortunate to see them suffer, but, you know, you still bring them to the slaughter.
Yeah, you still need them to get out of your way to continue with life. Just like Clay, I just see beneath Simon, yes. Some people say that she's a bit pragmatic about it, because it was just a means to an end. There's no need for her to care. But it's like, if you didn't see them in some level as human, why didn't you just tell him what to do? You recognize that he saw you as someone that he valued and used that against him. Which is why I feel like, to a degree, Clair is one of the bigger villains of the entire series.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be like, yes, I understand they're human, and I understand that you've been caught up in this, and I feel some modicum of pity. Like, let's be real. Renoir felt some modicum of pity. Not enough to stop him, but at least he acknowledged it to Lune and Ciel that it was unfair they got caught up in it. Clair just does not give a shit. She used Simon so that she could further get Renoir out of the painting so he would help her. They are a means to an end. 100%. Never will be anything else to her.
Man, poor Simon. Jesus.
Man got
Do you have any
over-injected with roids and beat our ass for it.
Yeah. Do you have any particular thoughts about Simon?
I think he's a very much a testament to he's sort of in his own self-contained way, an unfortunate reflection of how the entire game is. Everyone just sort of wants to use them as pawns, manipulate them. You know? He was lied to. And he even acknowledges it too. But it's like, no offense. You can tell all of these people are from the same family. Clair lied. Verso lied and manipulated. Even if you don't want to see it that way, he did. Lune called him out for it too. Like, literally, that's the whole thing, is all of them don't see them as people. You may say you see them as people, but in the end that you don't. I mean, Simon was locked at the bottom. Can you imagine what that does to you, being locked at the bottom of the monolith? No one around?
Yeah, that's some real Dark Souls shit, huh?
Yep, it is.
Damn.
Is there a particular thing that you want to bring up now?
No, I didn't really have much to say except like, well, yeah. Like it's interesting, like how Claire used him, like also like, basically to combat, her own mother. Like it seems like she, made him fight and kill the representation that Renoir made of her, the Axon.
Do you think it's sort of a testament to the fact that she doesn't like the way that people see her as flawed?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
Because it's like all of these things that she wanted to see, and she couldn't take them. And so she said, slay this. I don't have the ability to, but I will manipulate you to slay this to serve my ends. So I get literally two birds of one stone.
Yeah.
Two birds, one sword, I guess.
I guess.
Okay, I have a fascinating question that I think you and I are going to have very dynamic opinions on.
Oh boy.
What do you feel about the question that Verso asked his soul fragment, I suppose? Because the internet has very dynamic opinions about it. Like, literally he says, you want to stop painting, don't you?
I'm inclined to take it at face value. Because like, yeah, in that case, I'll go with like, the allegorical thing. And, that's I think a very interesting aspect of it, and something regarding the subject of narratives, which is a whole thing that I've got like stuff written down about. But yeah, I think Verso is very fascinating in the sense that like he seems to be a representation of this allegorical view from another perspective. Like he represents the allegorical view in himself, because I think he sees himself as representing the actual Verso. He sees himself as like this this man who is supposed to be dead, and now everyone's fighting because he is dead. and he feels like he has this duty to make sure that he can be dead so that the living can carry on. So yeah, I would be inclined to say that, like, yeah, the soul of the dead man probably is ready to stop painting, and I feel like the scene does support it, because like he does seem like very he has this reluctant body language, like, yes, I do, and then Mael comes in and he's like, oh no, oh dear, I'm so afraid. And but you did raise a good point, like which I'll let you make now.
Well, the internet believes, and I do as well, based on a couple of things. And I get that some people might take this as you're making too much of a big deal out of something small, but I think it's supposed to be that way in some ways. But the internet, parts of the internet, and I agree with them, is that he asked a very leading question. Which, in case, I'm going to give you all the bit of a glimpse into the stuff that, one, probably might be, by some people's measure, is overthinking too much, but also at the same time, I think is worth knowing. And that in a court of law, when children are on the stand and doing testimony, you cannot ask leading questions to them.
I am thou.
You're supposed to refrain from asking leading questions, especially to children. You're allowed to ask within a certain measure. There's very specific ways that you have to phrase things to children to avoid leading them to just give you an answer that you like. And I feel like in this instance, especially because it was his younger version, which clearly feels differently than he does now. Because he says, as a kid, I liked painting and I liked music, but as an adult, he's like, I only like music, which I think is fair and correct. And the thing also is that he says, I welcomed the paintings here. I welcomed the additional people, but everybody felt like they had to do something for him. Clair thought she had to get rid of them because it tainted the thing that they had made as kids, but he was fine with it. He says, and I sent you all of the dialogue. I was fine with them here. I welcomed them until they brought their pain here. So I think, unfortunately, Vertha was in the wrong in that he knew that himself was going to answer that way. So I feel he asked a bit of a leading question, which if you had said, do you want to stop or do you want to continue? It would have been one thing, but to say you want to stop, you're tired, aren't you? He could have been trying to please his older self. I think that's one of the things, is that you can't fully trust what the answer was. Because you get and I get that some people are going to be like, well, maybe he changed his mind. Sure, maybe. But we also know out of his own mouth, he said he was fine. He enjoyed painting. He enjoyed having this go on. So I do think that you need to reckon those two things together. That he said yes here, but that doesn't also dismiss that what he said in the past. You can't just say, oh, well, that was then. Okay, Verso also thought in the past that everyone deserved a chance to live. But like you can't just dismiss what you don't like. And I think too much of the fandom wants to do that when they get into this whole thing of, oh, well, he changed his mind. Well, things are different now. Sure, but at one point he still felt this. You can't just dismiss it. I think you need to weigh the two together. I think if somebody would have a sort of upheaval of opinion like that, you would question it. Like if I suddenly told you, Taeyu, bad hypothetical, but it's the best I can think of. What if I one day came to you and said, you know what? I don't think our friendship is working out. I don't really want to talk to you anymore. Without any real indication to prove what might have changed. Wouldn't you question it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm saying, is like, wouldn't you question like how we got to this point? And everyone says, oh, with, painted adult Verso. Oh, well, he's experienced so much loss. He's done all this. Yes, but you once cared for someone. And it wasn't that long ago. 67 years. You've gone on other expeditions and you've done this and you've watched them die, and I understand that. But why would you begin to try and care for these people? Why didn't you just keep them at arm's length if you really didn't want to get involved? That's what I'm saying, is he's painting two different pictures of himself and the two don't fit together very well. And that's where I feel like him as a character is hard to like nail down, because you see different aspects. He's just like, oh, like, why are you caring? Why are you growing attached if you're just gonna betray them again? You literally didn't want to join another expedition because you and Minoko are like, nope, too much pain. Why did you do it again? That's what I'm saying, is you have to like look at these pieces together and be like, why are you choosing to defy what you've done now? Like, why did you hold on to the letter and not give it to your sister? Why did you do these things? I saw someone make the comment that Verso is afraid and finds the truth to be painful, that he is so conditioned to avoid pain that he is willing to just compartmentalize stuff about himself. And that's what he has in difference from the real Verso, is that he doesn't think the real Verso did that. Otherwise, why would he give himself up for his sister if he literally was so trying to avoid pain and certain things? Like, why? Why would he sacrifice himself for his sister? He had to have known at some point this was not going to go the best, that his family was going to miss him to some capacity, but he chose to do it anyway. But here we see nothing but Verso being selfish, whereas the IRL Verso, the painted Verso, the real Verso, was selfless. So I think it's sort of a dynamic to the way that his real personality versus his developed personality kind of butt up against heads. And I mean, even like SKA says, same, but different. Same thing. There's parts of him that certainly rival the original boy Verso versus the one they have now.
Whether he's selfish is a very interesting question. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, but that was about it. Is I feel like a lot of people just tend to want to be like, oh, well, he was tired. Sure, but the practice that he was running from something. The same way that he says his mom was. And I think that's the thing, is that he's like, oh, everybody's like, oh, well, he's got all these great lines of, oh, we're making cruelties to each other. Yeah, and just because he says it, just because he recognizes it, doesn't mean that he understands that it also means him. He doesn't care. That's what I'm saying. He's like, oh, we're all hypocrites committing cruelties to each other. You have another choice. You kept making the same choice. Just because you can recognize the bad behavior doesn't mean that you're absolved from it. And that's where I feel like you and I disagree. I am not a Verso apologist. I think he's a fascinatingly written character, but I do think that people tend to forget that, oh, well, he was aware of what he was doing. So that meant that he could make a different choice. He just chose not to. And people were like, well, try to see from his POV. I do. We are abundantly clear in some ways in his POV, not his entire thoughts, but we do know what he feels is wrong. He understands it's wrong, but he chose to do it anyway. Because he thought his POV, just like his dad, was the only thing that mattered. The way he wanted to do it was the only thing that mattered. He even understood why Julie and that expedition chose to tie him up and torture him, is that you're doing what you feel is right. But the problem is that he's been in this whole POV of doing what he feels is right, that he can't see anything else. He can't contend with anything else. So I feel like Gustav was the best version of what the real Verso was like. I agree. And I think that there's that picture you see of Verso whenever she's Mael is kneeling by Gustav's grave, like, you were my father and brother. He looks down and his face looks pained. But I think that's the problem, is that he wasn't the brother that she needed, that he could have been.
So, may I continue? May I do?
Yes.
I
Yeah. Paused. Yes, pause is for you.
All right. So, like I said, it's an interesting question as to like whether he's selfish, because like in a way he is like selfless in a very literal sense. Like I think he doesn't have a strong enough sense of self, because he sees himself as like this, lesser being that just has a purpose that it has to, meet. And he sees this purpose as being like the good thing that will be, the best for everyone in the end, except for the people like him who are quote unquote fake. So yeah, I think that's one of those very interesting things where like having a low idea of yourself can actually turn you into someone who will hurt others, because you don't for reason. My brain's not working so good, but I hope you get what I mean.
No, I fully do. I agree with that. I think that he is. It's very much a thing that I don't know if we'll ever be able to fully empathize with. Being able, knowing that you are just a means to an end. You stand in the way of other people moving on to the next part of their lives and journey. For better or for worse. And I think that's definitely a thing that in some ways I feel like, as opposed to letting the expeditioners that he's journeying with also come to that realization and contend with, he chooses to keep it from them because he saw how it hurt him and he doesn't want to hurt. So I think he's selfishly selfish. Because it's like, by keeping it from them, you're thinking, oh, well, I don't have you go through the same spiral that I did. But at the same time, pain isn't something that's infinite. And I think that for him, he's been in it so much watching this happen that he thinks there's nothing but pain. There's nothing but being tired. But that doesn't mean that he gets to rob that choice, that information from other people. I do understand that those who've experienced pain, and he can see himself in the expeditioners, this whole means to an end, we will not exist. We are standing in the way of the people well beyond us that have nothing to do with us. We are in their way. But that doesn't mean that he gets to remove himself from being honest with other people. Especially when he has to use them. Because it's like, I think that's where I make that comment that I think some people disagree with. And I get it, but I think he's a victim that also re-victimizes. He is very much a victim of his circumstances, 110%. And it definitely has affected the way that he behaves. But the problem is that he also, in turn, pushes that victimization onto the other expeditioners by not telling them the truth. Because he thinks, it hurt me, what will it help you? A lot of it would have helped you. It would have helped them. It would have helped them make different choices. You knew this a long time ago. You saw young male growing up this way, and you chose to withhold all of this. You chose to let her father figure, her brother figure die because you thought he was going to get in your way of the thing you felt was best. You know what it's like to be in this situation, and you still did it anyway. Yeah. I think forgetting that does a massive disservice to his character.
That actually reminded me of a quote that I fished out from my memories, actually for another thing, for the whole Renoir and Aline side of things. But it actually applies here very well. It's a quote from one of Terry Pratchett's novels about morality, spoken by the character Granny Weatherwax. There's no grays, only white that's got grubby. I'm surprised you don't know that. And sin, young man, is when you treat people as things, including yourself. That's what sin is. And yeah, like, Verso was treating other people as things, and he was also treating himself as a thing. And yeah, I was actually totally unsure as to how to read, like, the whole treating yourself as an object, how that leads to sin. But yeah, that is actually a very good example of that.
Because Verso seems to think that he has no purpose, but at the same time, he has such defined purpose. And that's his problem, is that his purpose is essentially to move forward a sort of Armageddon. And he thinks that he can provide or change nothing else. His sister genuinely believes in another option, but he doesn't. Because it's unfortunately the way that he's been conditioned. That's the way that he's seen it all. He thinks that there is no better one. If I do this, even if I let the candles continue to exist, I will never be removed. I want to be removed. I want to stop. I don't think things will get better. And I think I wish in some ways we'd had a better, because we know the game is about Mayal, regardless of who our POV character was. I want to know, because I don't feel like we have all the pieces to know exactly how he got there. Because we do have his earlier journals where he didn't feel that way. So how did you get here? Because you've been partially with Minoko, but you haven't really touched Renoir. So did you just sit around thinking this on your own? And you just felt that this was the best thing that you could do? Was just to get out of everyone's way? Like, what got you there? That I want to know. What was that one thing? Or was it something, a bunch of small things? Because we know literally around Julie's expedition, which we don't have a year for, but I'm going to guess was somewhere within the first 10 or so still. Because we know Expedition Zero had Simon and Julie was not there. So, and we just know that literally Renoir says we broke ways a while ago. So we don't know when. I'd probably put it somewhere in the first 10 journals. Because about the first 10 or so were about just search and rescue. But that's what I'm saying is how early was that? How many expeditions did he see? Because I think one of the first journals we actually get was 85. That one had an actual number. So it was somewhere between 1 and 14, between like 0 and 86. That Julie happened. And then so what did he do after that? Because it's like Clair came in and apparently I don't remember this being the case, but I saw it looked up because I was curious, is when did the whole Verso realized he wasn't a real thing? Apparently what happened is that Clair powered up Simon, sent the expedition to the monolith, and then right as they're about to get to the monolith the normal way, like themselves, she stopped them and informed Renoir and Verso, yo, you're not really real. Hate to break it to you, but you're not real. Huh. Also, yeah, apparently whenever her sister went in, she went back in the painting and told him, yeah, my sister's here now. Can you watch her? Thanks. Which is such a weird thing to do. So I'm wondering, like, how did you get to the point that you were so unshakable in watching your sister grow up? Because that's the thing, I might be explaining this poorly, so I apologize. But like between Julie and Mael being there and you watching her, what happened to make you so steadfast about what you were doing that in spite of you caring for your supposed sister, that you still were unmoved by the fact that she had formulated a family that she cared about, that you were willing to let them die? What happened? That's my question. What genuinely were you thinking and experiencing that was a good thing to do? Like, you knew that was going to hurt her and you just put it aside. Like, you put that aside. That is a fact. He put that aside and still let him die. Because he says, yes, I could have stepped in, but I thought he would get in my way, so I didn't. About someone that you knew very little about. Except that you knew he was of value to Mael, and you still decided, sorry, I love you, sis, but he's in my way. That's a thing to say about a character. That is not something you can just dismiss. And it just blows my mind that people are like, it's fine. It's not fine. That's a terrible thing. That is a terrible thing that you saw, that you care about your sister, but not your actual sister that's over here. You care about your painted sister so much, but not the actual one. And it's weird. Like, that whole situation is a bit weird in my opinion. You care more about your painted sister than your actual one.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like, man, I didn't really. I kind of stopped thinking about that at some point, but like that's a question that's like interesting enough that I have to wonder if like they'll approach it in the DLC or something. Like,
I genuinely hope they do. I think it would be fantastic to find out.
Like, Carmine said that like what happened with Julie was probably a breaking point. I'm not sure because like at that point we still have that journal from him where he seems where he is just talking to himself and seems to be very convinced that like he can convince. What did he say exactly? He seemed convinced that he can like kind of save everyone, make them repaint everyone, make the painters repaint everyone.
He says that his mom will save everyone. I think if I remember correctly,
yeah. So at that point he had a very different idea still.
Yeah.
Also,
he told her that and she forgave him.
Yeah.
Not that surprised by it. I think Mael kind of sees things the way that CL did. Is then, my husband's gonna come back. Gustav can come back. So I think for her it was just to know, because in the end she was still going to try and bring him back as long as she got her way. Which Again, yes, selfish, but I think that's the reason she was able to not, like, let it hurt the way that she felt about him. Is that she was like, I can at least understand why you did it, but I'm going to bring him back.
I don't think he didn't care at all about the actual Mile, but I think there's like a disconnect, like, because, his painted sister, who is like his actual sister, because like he is also painted, like he knows her as like a person, and like Mael, she is like kind of, he sees himself in the way that he sees himself as like representing Verso. He sees like, okay, I guess that's my sister, but he's also like, oh, that's actually a goddess or something, and like the one who really matters. And but like, emotionally there's this disconnect, which is also, yeah, that's another thing, like this emotional disconnect and stuff. Like, man, you really have to play Undertale and stuff.
Because I wonder, do you think it's because he was painted that way to care about them?
I mean, he was painted to be very caring, but I think he might have started out like extremely caring, and eventually like it just made everything hurt too much, and like he just broke because of that.
Because I think you are somewhat on the right spot in some ways, because it's like I'm trying to remember if this actually happened, but didn't he make a comment about, he's like, you painters, you come in and you do whatever you want? That may have been why he didn't see Mael as worth the same value, is that she doesn't think of herself as to be minded by what they were doing. The actual version inside. Because I know he said something like that, like, you painters, you come in, I swear, I want to go see if I can find it. But I'm pretty sure he said something quite, like, disparaging about that. He was like, oh, you painters, you do whatever you please.
Yeah, after
So I think he definitely saw them as though kind of his sister, but not. So I definitely think that might be part of it.
True.
Wish that there was a way to get all of the, but I feel like that would be such a long fucking document to get, like, all of the dialogue.
Yeah. Imagine though being able to just like Control F for like certain terms.
Oh my god, bruh. Anything else anyone else wants to bring up?
Let me go through my notes. Yes, I took notes.
He did a lot of notes.
Also, sorry, Raven, I didn't manage to get through yours. I had a very busy day.
Also, something, if you don't mind me saying, one of the other reasons that I understand why Mael did what she did in some ways is that I remember making the note that Minoko said to himself that actual Verso would have wanted a new beginning for Verso. He said, you deserve a new beginning if you want one. Every one of us does. So even in the end, they still felt that way. I think that's why I have difficulties reckoning the question that he asked, Painted Verso asked to Verso's soul. Is that everyone deserves a new beginning. Like he literally was like, you deserve to live out. And I think that's why Mael did what she did, is that it's the same thing. You deserve an opportunity to live a life that's not shaped by pain. So I get some people like, oh, it's wrong, but I get it. It's if you have the potential to do something for someone else, to be like, things can be better. Just let me show you. And he's, no offense, Verso in the same way, though he approached it in a much more drastic measure, did the same thing. He was like, you can be anything. You have this power, you have this great power to paint. You will never have to live a life you don't want. She was doing the same thing, but the problem is people get mad when Mael does it, but they understand when Verso does it. And I think that that's a bit of an unfairness to the two characters. They both wanted to try and say that, hey, things could get better. Even your own like creations, Verso, are saying you deserve a new beginning. Everyone does. If you want it, you have the ability to achieve it. So that's where it sometimes gets on my nerve. is that everyone's like, oh, well, Verso did what he thought was right. So did Mayel. But for some reason, you judge her more harshly, even though she's a young 16-year-old girl. And I think some people need to examine their biases about why one's okay and the other one isn't. Especially considering how hypocritical he was when he says that he didn't get a chance to like persuade Alicia to try and like stay within the painting. Like, you're mad your sister is trying to do the same for you that you wanted to do with your painted sister. So you do understand that you're being a hypocrite here. That's what I'm saying, is that he recognizes it but thinks, I'm gonna do it anyway. That's kind of where it gets me, you know? You're like, I could have persuaded her to say, she was trying to persuade you to say that maybe this life is still worth being in. And you got, the entire internet gets upset at, oh my God, Mayel was being unfair. Wasn't Verso when he wanted to convince his sister not to gomage herself? But if you mention that, people are like, well, it's different. No, it's not. It's not different. You just want it to be different because you value one character over the other. Boom, I said it there. Enjoy.
Greetings,
Hi, thank you for the follow,
traveler
honey.
from beyond the fog.
Oh. Which isn't a bad thing. I don't think it's inherently bad for people to view one character as being, but I think you need to acknowledge it. I'm not saying it's bad to feel or revel in something. It is bad to pretend it doesn't exist when it inherently does. That's what gets me. So.
I mean, okay.
You find your notes?
Devil's advocate.
Yes.
Yes. It is one of those situations where, like, for one thing, like the way Mael is acted in that scene is very strange. She has this very ethereal look to her after like gomaging his sister. Like, she's kind of above it all in some sense. Like, she has this very solemn expression. It's kind of weird. I don't know how to read it exactly. Like, I think that might be part of it, and also like the fact that, you know, obviously, you know, on the one hand, he allowed Gustav to die, which was, you know, you can argue a lot about that. You know, that's I don't forgive him for that, freaking bastard. but but like, you know, he had a reason for that. It was a dumb reason, but you know, whatever. He could, like, but you know, when she gomaged his sister, there was no reason to do it like that very moment. You know, he is not wrong that she could have waited a moment and, like, you know, let everyone talk. But also, yeah, I mean, then there's the whole thing that brings up the, you know, the whole question of like, at what point is it not okay to try to convince someone
Here we go. This I was
to
wondering when
go
we get
against
there.
their will, you know? Yeah.
Before we move on, can I roll back to what you were saying about why she didn't wait? Can I give my thoughts to that?
Yeah.
I think part of it, and I'm not saying that I fully agree with it, is that the reason that I think that she didn't wait is that it's the whole idea of the way that everybody viewed her, you know? That she couldn't make good choices. The choice that she made to be interacting with the writers led to this whole thing, you know? And it's the whole fact that, you know, even her dad's like, oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can accomplish all this. And she's like, no, I have these limitations. I think it was the one thing that Mael understood about Alicia, is that I see that you want this. And I want to give you the one thing no one else seems to do, is the agency to recognize your own choice. And all of it's good and bad. Because she says in that very raspy voice, please send me to my family. So I think that it was that, and I understand, I do recognize the hypocrisy, because Mayel does not listen to Verso when he asked to leave. Is that she thought in this one moment, everyone seems to have all, because she'd been to the Reacher, she'd been on the inside, she'd seen it all. She'd seen that everybody has all these thoughts of hers, that she's never going to end up being the painter, that her mother thinks that she can be, that trying to be a writer only brought her people pain or family pain. So whenever she was just like, you know, send me to my family, I think she wanted to do it then as in like, I recognize it. I'm not going to question you. I'm going to just listen to you. I'm going to do the one thing that no one will seem to want to do for us. That's the way that I do. I think it's right? Not necessarily, but I can understand that. It's sort of like when you've not had anyone listen to you and you finally are interacting with yourself, someone has the power to give you the absolution you wish for, right or wrong. You know that it's sort of like in a moment of, you understand why I want this. Even if I disagree, you are me. You should understand that I have made my choice and I just want people to give it to me. So again, hypocritical, yes, but I understand, especially when we, like you said, at the Reacher and he was like here and she's like, I can't, I have vertigo. You know, everyone's got all these expectations of you and you can't really meet up to them. I think that's the same problem that Verso had, is that everybody had this entire thought of what he needed to do and he overly bought into it. His problem is that he overbought into it. And Mayel's is that she never did. Alicia's is that she never did. Is that she was like, this is what people think that I'm capable, and I don't think I'm capable of any of it. So I'm just gonna do what people think I should do. Up until I meet the one person that will finally do what I hope for. Because I know my brother won't let me go. Because no offense, let's start the question. I will ask it. If she had stayed, would it have been her desire? Would it have been right for her to do something she didn't want to do for someone else?
Well, that's that's the question, isn't it? Like, you you said like, here we go, you know, something like that. When I brought it up, because that's a question. That's a question I brought up regarding like Aline and Renoir. Is like, in how far is it selfish of him to try to force her out of the canvas? And I really don't have a good answer for that question. Because like, I can see from his position that like in that situation, like, she is probably not in the best, you know, most healthy headspace. You know, she had just, you know, burned her daughter's face, and like that's a pretty big alarm sign. But you know, if in that situation, I would also, you know, bless you, I would also see her, you know, fleeing into that canvas as basically tantamount to suicide. And I would do whatever I can to like try to get her out of it, because like I cannot assume that like she is just, you know, gonna stop there. I would have to, you know, I feel like I would have a duty to her to keep her safe until she can more rationally assess the whole situation, you know. And that's why I looked up that whole quote about like treating people as objects, because it's like, that quote had been shown to me by a good friend of mine years ago. And, you know, when he showed me that, he was not entirely sure about that, because he said, like, a lot of people do pretty terrible things out of what they think is love.
Yes.
And, you know, that seems to go against, like, treating people as objects, you know? But, yeah, like, that is a freaking question, you know? Like, in a sense, you could say that, like, you know, imposing your will on them is objectifying them. You are turning them into an object to your subject who, you know, who can act and stuff. But you could also say, like, sometimes people don't really know what they want. Like, sometimes, you know, you are taken by something like, you know, mental illness or something that is like a part of you that's just taking over and saying, like, no, there's no hope whatsoever. You suck. You're useless. End it all, you know? And in that case, like, if you stop them from, you know, taking their life or something, you know, you are probably helping them, actually from another perspective. Like you are enforcing the will of them when they are in like a healthier headspace that they just can't realize in that moment when the depression takes over, So I don't know. Yeah. What do you think?
I think this is one of the more complicated things because I think it depends on several factors. Do you believe in which there's some, and I will explore why I think all of this, but one, do you think there's some magical age where people suddenly become of sound mind to decide the real consequences of their lives? If there one, and then into that, if there is, who gets to decide what that age is? The average human being or scientists / psychologists who have understood it inherently? I've studied and understood people and behaviors and brains. Because yes, while we learn new stuff every day, is it the average person that can decide, or is it people that better understand brains and development and stuff? Two, even if people are able to decide, how much does diminished faculty go in? If someone is in an incurable disease, say Huntington's, Parkinson's, something like, and they don't want to be here anymore, do they have to continue on for those that are around them that aren't ready to face their loss? Because let's be real, that sometimes happens. Like people with cancer sometimes choose not to continue doing certain health treatments, and people are like, no, you can't leave us and you stay with us. Doesn't their quality of life matter? Does someone have to continue doing something that they don't want to do for those around them? Don't you think that breeds resentment? It's the same thing with like resentment in marriage. It's this can be taken in a lot of ways. It's like, oh, if someone's like, oh, I'm done, I'm over, I don't want to be in this marriage, and someone else is like, oh, let's go to counseling, let's see how that works, and someone else is like, no, I don't want to. Do you owe it to them?
Yeah, to answer your question and Raven's, I think where I stand on this right now is that like I mentioned, like I think it's important if they are like in a heightened state where they're like very emotional and stuff like that, and they want to make the decision to keep them safe for that moment, and then it's important to respect their decision, but it should be over like a longer period. Like it should take some time to like simmer, to like make sure, like, are you really sure about this? Tomorrow, are you going to be sure about this? If after talking some more, after considering options, are you still sure about this? And then I don't know about the couples therapy thing. Like you could, I guess, you could take what I just said and be like, yeah, no, we still have like a bunch of months left of trying to make this work, I think it probably doesn't take that much, just, enough time for the person to calm down and like to really have a heartfelt conversation. Usually when they don't really want it, that's enough to let them at least like reconsider, I think.
But I think that the difficulty, in my opinion, is, and when you come into that kind of thing, is can you, as the person expecting someone to change, recognize your own biases? I think it's difficult for some people, because if you're expecting a certain answer and you want them to see your way, some people are like, oh, well, you just need more time to see it my way. That's the outspoken part. Some people are like, okay, let's just give you a little more time to think about it. And if someone's like, no, I know what I want, I think you still need more time to think about it. I don't really think what you need to say, and I think that's the part, is that what you're looking for isn't someone to be sure, it's looking for someone to be sure on what you're saying. And that's the problem, is like, who do we have to hold accountability to? Do I have to go in with what you say before you'll genuinely believe that I feel the way that I do? That's the problem, is you have to understand when you as a person can't let go. And I think that's the difficult part for a lot of people, is that you're expecting so much to hear one particular answer. You can't let go that when they're telling you you're not gonna hear it, or they're thinking, oh, you just need more time, that's all you need. No, I'm okay with my decision. Finding something that works for both parties. I think the problem is that there's certain things that, say someone is like, I'm not having a good quality of life, I don't want to be here, fill in the blanks. And you're saying, no, you just need more time. We just need to try one more thing. And someone's like, I've done enough. I'm okay. I'm at peace. I want to go. No, you don't know what you're thinking. You don't know. You're too young. You're too emotional to make that decision. Am I? Or is that you are and you won't let me make this one? That, I think, is the problem, is that people that are listening also need to recognize when they're too emotional not to hear what someone's saying, because it's not what you want to hear. And I think too often we put it on the person that's in that, because I've been in that situation where I was talking to someone else about something and they're like, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. I'm like, do you really think you're going to regret it? It wasn't that big of a deal in the end, but it was like, yes. And they're like, no, I think you really need to stick with it. No, I don't want to. I know what it means. I know what I'll lose, but I'm okay with it. And I really would like to be respected that I know what I'm doing. But people are like, you just don't know. You haven't thought about it. Just because you had a bad experience doing or something, that's where some people come from, is that they're like, I'm not ready to face this. I've had a bad experience. Yours will be bad too. No, or I had a good experience. Yours isn't going to be that bad. People still get to decide. Ignoring it until you get the answer that you want is pressuring, and it is bullying. And it is manipulative. And I think people need to recognize that. Because I think the problem is if you're saying heightened, even if I'm talking to you calmly, you're thinking, oh, you're still too emotional, you're not looking at it clearly. I am. You're not. Because it's not what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. It's another one of those things where it's about, like, you know, really connecting, really listening, and really communicating. Which, by the way, I meant to go back to your point about, like, the little boy actual verso remaining piece of soul thing. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was, like, a really fascinating point. That, because, like, I couldn't see beyond my, you know, more allegorical reading. When you first brought it up, that, like, oh, but, you know, maybe he didn't really think that, you know, maybe it was just temporary, maybe he didn't really want to stop, you know, I thought, I don't know, that seems like a stretch. But, like, no, it really makes sense with, like, the reading of, like, you know, the downside of, like, that allegorical viewpoint. Like, Verso and Renoir, they have these ideas of, like, this is what this means. This is the real lesson that we all need to be learning. And, you know, like Benoit said, like, why am I the only one who sees this? You know, and, you know, spoke in absolutes about, like, I need this to be fixed and stuff like that. And, you know, yeah, so I can really see that, like, yeah, Verso maybe did come into that whole thing with, like, a leading question. So, like, yeah, I know already that you want to stop because I am you. I already decided that in my mind. So, yeah. There really are downsides to those both. And ultimately what it comes down to is that, like, you've got to really communicate and listen. And if I may bring up a point from, like, the video essay by Jacob Geller, one that I've found very striking is that he ends on this exchange between Gustave and Sophie while she is walking to the harbor, where she, you know, there's this moment where you can pause for a moment, and she says, sometimes I feel sorry for her. And he is like, who, the paintress? She looks sad. Maybe she's a prisoner too, stuck in the same cycle with us. Only you could choose empathy at a time like this. It's one of the few choices I can make. I couldn't do it. It's okay. You don't have to. And, like, that is fascinating, because, like, it feels like in that moment, Sophie is really the embodiment of like that third option of like really choosing empathy, really, like even Gustav in that moment is caught up in his grief and his emotions about like, he is about to lose the woman that he loved and still loves. And so he cannot look beyond that and choose empathy. But like, that means he is in that moment, taken with the same tragic flaw that almost everyone else in the story also has, that they are just so caught up in their emotions that they fail to see beyond that, beyond just this maelstrom of just terrible pain. And she, in this moment, is the only one who just really looks and listens and connects to someone, even when they're on the other side of a conflict.
I agree. I think that's the problem, is that how often can you set yourself aside from your own feelings, your own pain, to see something, to see that the people that you're having an instance with also have feelings in it. Especially in a situation where you can't escape, to be able to recognize that is a desperate level of emotional maturity. And that's why a lot of people sometimes feel like, if Gustav hadn't died, he probably would have, especially considering the way that he changed over the short time of his expedition, where he was just like, oh, if I see a bit of white hair, I'm gonna run. And Mayo was like, you said you were gonna run. And he was like, for those that come after, right? He probably would have been the person to tell her to leave. I believe that, and a lot of the fandom believes that. And that's why him dying in at the end of Act 1 is, for some people, the death of the third choice. It was removed by the one person that was going to make sure that there was only two choices. Which is sort of a damn in some ways.
God damn it. Fucking Verso.
That's because he thought that there was only, even his sister was like, hey, if you give this letter, you'll believe in the same way that I do, that there's a third choice, that our sister could find it. Our sister, I guess, is the best way to say it. And he was like, nah, throws it away. I was like, you bastard, I hate you. I was so mad at that moment. And when I found out that he let Gustav die, I was like, oh, you about to catch your ass. Oh. So that was a very striking. I find her character to be fascinating, because it's like in the same way that, Gustav wanted to have kids, and he could have, if, because him and Sophie broke up a while ago. He still chose not to, because he wanted them with her. That was the way that he wanted to continue life forward, is that it was with her or nothing. And I do think that that's sort of why I find that he took a bit from her, even though he couldn't empathize with the painters in the same way. He still had his own convictions that he was willing to stand by. He wanted kids. He wanted to eventually raise them, because he loved kids. That's why he had apprentices. But at the same time, he wasn't willing to just take them with anyone. It was like, you are the one that I feel, I want to go the future with. And if there is no you, there is no future for me. So I find that to be an interesting commentary on his character. I was furious at Versa. I think a lot of people were.
Justifiably, yeah.
Yeah, very justifiably.
Yeah, honestly, I also felt very betrayed when that dialogue choice came up, and it was like,
the fact that you could lie about it.
Yeah.
Bastard can't not lie.
For anyone who doesn't know, Mael asks him, could you have saved Gustav? And you get the options yes, which is the truth, and no, which is a lie. And yeah, I from the beginning, I thought, I have pretty much faith in my ability to read people. So I figured, he's not a bad guy. he's not someone who would just betray us, or maybe he probably might have like his own views that maybe he's misguided or something, but like there's no way he didn't care about Gustav. Like he's not such an asshole. But yeah,
the thing that I knew that he was a bit odd. Did you ever have a moment where you felt like maybe he was a little bit weird, like before you started hearing my opinion on it?
Not really. I was more still shocked. I was shocked about like losing Gustav, and then I thought like, oh man, now there's this guy who is like all mysterious and cool and sexy and stuff. It's like
Oh no. The reason that I had is because of one reason, and one, he was too calm about it all. He's just like, oh, we gotta go. Go ahead, get on. We gotta get out of here. I was like, why are you? I was like, one, that meant two things to me. One, either this dude's really comfortable with death and demise, like the fact that everyone's dying around you and you're just being like, well, you and I haven't seen eye to eye in a while. I was like, bruh, this is like way too calm of a moment considering what the fuck happened like 2 feet behind us. That was my first thing that I was just like, why are you calm about this? And then you find out even more that one, you saw the way your sister felt about him. You've seen her grow up. You've seen their relationship, and you chose to do it, which meant you were going to do this a long time ago. You had made that decision. You had made your peace. Bro didn't even hesitate. You only make no hesitations if you are fully convinced of your choice. Like the fact that he didn't even glance behind him meant I knew what I was going to do, and it was not fucking this. I was just like, so I was like, bro, why are you so unbothered by like her tears, her pain? I was like, yeah, you're strangers, but even a stranger could muster like one iota of concern. He was just like, let's go. Come on, we gotta go. And then to be like, hey, I got your flying rock. His whole reaction to stuff was just odd. That was what got me. I was like, why are you calm about this? Just to be like, she was like, I can't live. And he's like, yeah, we'll handle it. Come on. That's it? Even a stranger, like even I, who have my own issues sometimes connecting with certain things, I'd have been like, because no offense, I've told you all my feelings about death. I'd have been like, yeah, honey, I know this is very emotional. I understand. We'll try to work it out, but we need to get away from here. Instead, he was just like, I gotta go. My entire brain went, that's fucking weird. Because everyone in this game is so, how do I say it?
Natural?
Kind of, but more like realistic in their emotions.
Yeah.
Even Lune, who's a bit
I mean, for her, it makes sense.
Verso save Mel and Perry, the Lamp Master, attacking Gustav? I'm going to the first continent. What?
What? Oh, you don't mean the Lamp Master, but like the noir, like the hand thing?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go rewatch it. He picks up Mael on the beach for sure. Ooh,
Yeah, we do know about that.
I know that, but I didn't see him parry the. Yeah. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch that part, which only means that he specifically let him live to get them on their way, and then step in to take the lead on the whole expedition. Which only just gives me even more concern, bruh. Oi.
Yeah, I have to admit, in that moment, I think I was too just, for one thing, shell-shocked, but also
I think a lot of people were.
But also like too caught up in my own biases, where I just saw this guy and was like, oh man, now here comes the cool guy who is all like too cool for school, too cool to care about stuff, and like nah. So that's why there was this moment where I was like, oh wait, there's this moment coming up that totally humanizes him, because I saw him talked to Monoko and was like, oh hey, oh he's actually a fun guy. Oh okay, he's just a dude. That's nice. So, but yeah, I don't know. I couldn't see a reality where like the person that I saw him as would have a reason to like really betray us in that way. But yeah, I guess the game showed me, when this guy sees himself and other people as just like these little fake pawns and stuff, then yeah, he can have a reason to betray us.
Because another layer to this whole thing is that even if you can put, even if your entire POV, your perspective, your intent was to push your sister as well as your mother out of the canvas, you know that the memories of which she lived with here, you have to know to some degree that she will take them with you. You are guaranteeing her to live with pain that you could have interceded on, but didn't, because it didn't meet your ends. You were worried. So you were saying you were fine with your sister experiencing this pain, or this person, sister or not, experiencing pain. You have an ability to like intercede on, and did it anyway. You knew that even after the painting was gone, she was going to carry that with her. And you were just like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know. All right. And that's what gets me. But that also makes me wonder, and this is one of the moments that like I feel for him, like, what happened? I genuinely hope we get to see a bit of how exactly he got there, because that is a hard level of disassociation, an immense level of disassociation. How did you get there? Because although I can be wrapped up in the fact that, oh my God, you let him die, I'm also wondering what made you so sure, so scared of there being no other choice than yours, that you thought that you were so unwilling to find out what happened. Even the sister that you love so much thought there was a third option, and you were like, no. What happened? That's what I want to know. And that's why I felt like the entire time whenever he came in, I was like, this dude's not, like, I have a pretty good read on him. I don't know necessarily everything, but I did find the way he reacted to be weird. Just because I know in that situation, even I, who is kind of like, dead body dead, would have been like, I know, honey, this is desperately painful. It's not safe here. Instead, he was like, gotta go. Come on. We'll figure it out. I won't let things. And the only thing he said was the Lumino converter. He killed him because he wanted the Lumino converter. And I'm over here flipping tables like, bruh, please. You snake me sad. But like, again, that just kind of like pushes your character out of the way and supplants someone new in there. I'm going to question, because I'm saying, why would you have me care about someone if you were just going to sweep them off the chessboard? Like, I had to know why. That's why I was like, I'm sorry. Yes, you came in this, but you're not giving me the best fight, and I don't know you. Like, no, that joke, that's my purse, I don't know you. That was my pro tag, and I don't know you. And you just so happen to be in the one spot that makes you just... I was like, this whole thing is a little weird for me. And I get that somebody would have been like, oh, well, it just happens. At least he can save us. Yeah, but like, what's your motivations? Why were you in this place at this time? And you never find out until much later, and it's already too late. That's why I was just like, motherfucker. Oh.
Interesting little point. Like, we know that Verso, the guy we know from the canvas, is like, deceitful, mayhaps. But why did Renoir paint his Axon as like this master of masks, as if like the real one was also like deceitful? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's because of the way he saw his son that, you felt... My question is, why did you feel that lies were your best guard? Who guards truth with lies? Is it because you didn't feel comfortable in your family to be honest with the truth?
Yeah, I think
That's my
probably
question.
it. I think it's probably that he like learned to mask because like, you know, his parents had certain expectations. So he learned to just, you know, act a certain way in front of them.
But I also wonder, did he feel the need to be that way with his entire family?
Probably.
So I wonder if then this was a family that was healthy for him in or out of the painting. And I think that's the question is, like, give me 2 reasons why I thought the auto death for him was the best. Oh my god. Poor fucking Durso gets no love. I empathize with his character. I just feel that, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that I understand feeling a lot of trauma and pain and all of those things, and I understand how that can affect people's brains. But still, the fact that not a single moment of him thought to like think there was another option is why I can't. Like, you had options. I understand that it's difficult, but like, he was a nihilist. He basically, at some point, you're choosing this because it's easier. And he has to reckon with that. He has to recognize and understand and own that. And it felt like at some level, the way that his character was written was trying to be like, well, no, it's not my fault. But you had choices. Your earlier POV shows you thought differently. You leaned into this. You changed. You chose this. To some degree, you can't just be like, oh, the world that I am made me who I am. You still have a choice in the way that you react. And him not just being like, this is who I am now, is why I can't fully like him as a character. He's fascinatingly written, but as a person, I feel like I could have never been like, I would have been like, bro, why didn't you do anything different? Because I feel he'd been like, well, it was just hard. Everything's hard. What you wanted your sister to face was hard, but you were so sure it was the right thing for her. Why didn't you do something hard for anyone other than yourself?
Yeah, honestly, I don't have anything to add to that.
That's what I would ask him. You were comfortable with everybody else doing hard stuff. And I'm sorry, but you can't look me in the eye and say lying was hard for me. Lying for you seemed to be like breathing. You had every other option to take a tiny bit of faith. And I get that you're saying, well, that's difficult. I've seen a lot of things. Sure. But still, every moment, you still chose to do this. It takes 1 second of pausing to choose something else. You have to want to choose to be something other than what you've been made. That's what being human is about. Fascinating character. But
yeah.
damn. Just don't think I could ever have a beer with them without like flipping a table and walking away. Yeah, he was comfortable destroying. That's another thing, is that he wanted to protect what he thought was valuable, but he was fine with destroying things he felt no inherent value to. Like the whole thing of, oh, I want to keep my sister. Do you think that Mia wanted to keep hers? Sorry, it's true. You can see value in things that you care about, but not the things anybody else does. And that is a character flaw that he has to accept and own up to.
Yeah.
It sucks, but it's true. So, anything else you want to talk about?
Honestly, I would like to go to the toilet for a moment.
Sure, yeah, take a minute.
Okay, be right back.
I think it'll be hard to write another character quite like his. Genuinely. Just because of the way that he was written was so committed to that whole thing. And that you could understand how he got to where he did, even if you didn't agree with that. You could understand it to a point. To a point. I think that there's a lot to his character that's fascinatingly complex, but at the same time, there's other parts to it that it's just like he's static. Yeah, you can understand it, and I think that that's the thing that I wish a lot of people would sort of give some consideration to, I suppose, for Mael, is that you were just like, oh, well, she's just immature. Well, she made choices because she's immature. Okay. Yes. But, like, what about Verso? Oh, well, Verso was hurt. Don't you think that, like, he could have been something else? Well, I understand it. So why can you understand the reason that you're just like, oh, brushing aside everything that Mael did and like, oh, she was just young, immature, spoiled little brat, wanted everything her way? And Verso was someone who was deeply plagued by pain and couldn't trust anybody. Yeah, but I can understand that. I've been hurt too. Yeah? And? Have more discussions like this? Yeah! Yeah, I agree. I'm glad he took it. At first he was nervous about it, but I'm glad he did. But I think that that's the thing is that when you're someone like him, everyone's so comfortable telling me, oh my god, you're immature, you're a spoiled brat, you wanted everything your way, you wanted things how you... But don't you think that... And you're like, oh, Verso's such a pain soul, I totally get it. It's so hard being so betrayed, watching so many people die. So you let more people die? I'm sorry, how does that work exactly? I'm sorry, do beg pardon? How do you... And they're like, but that makes sense. He was in pain. Okay. So he makes more pain? That's like saying, no offense. It's the epitome of, you don't want to see it that way, but it is tit for tat. It's like saying, you know, Verso could have taken taken the high road. You know? That's what gets me, is that people are just like, well, I can get it. He was pained, he was tortured, he wanted to move on. And Mael didn't. But you all are so endorsing of what he did. Come on now. Like, either they both have motivations that you can understand, but you're like, no, you've never done anything when you were dumb and immature. I've never locked people in a thing they didn't want to do. So you let everyone kill themselves? You pushed people to kill themselves? You let people risk their own lives for you because you were... That's like saying, oh, I was mistreated as a child, so now I get to be a bitch to everyone in my adult life. No? That's sort of what you're saying, you know? It's the same thing. It's like at some point you have to like go and deal with that. But everyone gives Verso a pass for some reason. But they don't give Mael a pass. It's like, you spoiled little bitch brat. If you had just done this or that, things would have been better. You were so spoiled. You had to have everything. Literally, that's what people think. Go on Reddit. People think that she is 100% a spoiled little bitch brat. And that Verso was... I was saying that if you go on Reddit, people think Mael's ending, her choice, was basically the spoiled little bitch brat ending. Like, oh my god, you bratty little child. You had to make everyone do what you wanted to do. And I was like, what about Verso? He like got fucked over numerous times. Like, I get it, sure. It's like, oh my god, Mael's making everyone because she's fucking disabled. Oh, boo-hoo, grow up. Okay, where's Verso's grow up, boo-hoo, grow up? You got betrayed as like when you were like younger by the person you love. Boo-hoo, grow the fuck up. That's not everybody else's problem. But you can't say that. People are like, oh my god, that's so mean. It's the same. Either they both got shitty motivations or they don't. You're just thinking because he's an adult, it's okay. No, it's not. It's even worse. It's even worse. Also, isn't that fun? Someone said we should collaborate. I told you, motherfucker, we need to. You know, if I play Undertale, you have to talk with me or whatever it is.
Okay.
Just talk with me about it.
I will.
All right, cool, fine. That was easy. But yeah, do you agree with that sentiment? I don't think you do, but I want to ask you outright. Do you think that there's protective of how people are Verso? Yeah, which is weird. It's like you're protective of a dead man. Like, I don't mean to be mean, but you are protective of a dead man that was comfortable killing so many people so that he could rest.
Yeah, I think two things. For one thing, like I said, like the people who are convinced of like the allegorical reading are
Insert
gonna be
character.
the
Ooh.
ooh,
What's a
are gonna be the
Hmm?
a sort of insert character. Could be also that, yeah. They're going to be the most insufferable ones because they think like, here, I got the meaning of this game. The meaning of this game is that like, escapism is not good. See, that's the kind of intellectual take that only a true intellectual is capable of. And like little children like Mael just don't get it. And see, that's why she is, falling into the trap of escapism and not accepting reality as it is. But also, fuck that. But the thing is, also the other thing is definitely some of that, bias against like young girls and girls in general, young people in general.
I don't look like a bitch this isn't, but I thought it too. It gave me mild, like immature, like kind of sexist undertones. That the older male has to make the decision for the young, immature, hysterical female. Woohoo!
Yeah. And yeah, these people, they'll see like this suffering of the the old man and just be like, yeah, see, that is deserved suffering.
He suffered enough.
More.
Let him pass.
Yes.
She still has a lifetime that she has to suffer for.
Yeah.
She doesn't know real suffering. I do agree with that. It does feel like very much like people want to like get peace for all the suffering that he's done. It's like, well, she hasn't, Oh no, she has to keep on living. Oh no, well, he's dead. Shouldn't he be able to rest? And no offense, I'm going to be very delicate in how I phrase this, but I'm gonna let me get through my thought before people jump on me if I do phrase it the wrong way. And I'm going to ask, do you think that it's somewhat reflective of the way that we treat the disabled now in our society? As in, like, you have the potential to keep on living. You need to be normal, but without recognizing the limited capacity that she has.
I do get what you're saying. Yeah, like it tends to be like that people don't really trust marginalized people to advocate for themselves because like they have a vested interest in advocating for themselves, of course. But yeah, like everyone obviously has to advocate for themselves, right? Like
to phrase it more specifically, someone on Reddit made the comment that the way we view disabled people is that you need to be as normal as possible, but we're not going to give you the accommodations to make that happen. And I wonder if that's a bit of the way that people see Mael, as well as that you have life, you have another chance, even if that chance is one half of a normal person's chance. But still, one half is better than nothing.
I hadn't considered that. That is very interesting. Like I just saw it in terms of like, giving up on life and stuff in general. Which, I obviously have strong opinions about, like, about there always being like a chance. Hence why I think her ending is actually the best one, because like there's still chances for things to develop in a better way. But yeah, man. The idea that like, yeah, that is part of why people are taking her less seriously. Saying like she just needs to, get good or something.
I do wonder. I don't think that's fully it, but I do think it is a bigger part than people genuinely want to come out and say. Because remember, I think people tend to forget she can't speak. She's missing an eye. What kind of quality of life is that? And some people are like, well, you still have a life. But where, like, has her family really tried to help her overcome her disabilities? That's what they are. Call them what you want. They are disabilities. Like, I do wonder, that's what I'm saying, as part of in this universe, I do wonder if that's why living in a world where she wasn't encumbered by those would look better. Do I think it's right that she took Verso with her? No. But I do understand. I mean, that's part of the reason that some people say that, you know, certain technologies develop and can become applied. Like, when VR tech was made, people used it for entertainment, but it ended up becoming one of those things that the disabled community found quite liberating. It ended up being very useful technology for them. So, you know, I can understand that people get lost in there, especially if you are in a world, like if you're in VR and say you're paralyzed, and in VR you can stand up, you can walk. That has to be deeply connecting in some ways. But I think that, you know, especially in our society, is that we tend to want people that need accommodations to be very much in the back. Like, here you are, but just kind of get out of the way. How often do you see people, like, give side eyes to people that request additional accommodations? Like let's use a very overly simplistic, like, if you're ever on the bus and someone needs to use the ramp to get on, how many people have you sometimes see go whenever that bus takes a little bit longer to, like, roll down the ramp, let the person get on, and then because everyone's like, I have places to be. That's sort of a very simplistic rendered down version of the same thing that I feel like people push to me out, is that, oh, you're disabled, you can just be there, you exist, we're gonna move on. It's the same thing. The more in the back you are, the less that we have to think about you. And I get that her father feels that she's capable of more, but I do think it's also important to recognize her limitations and help her build up to them. And I don't know if in this family, especially with all that they're dealing with, the revenge, her mom, that there's a lot of room for her to feel the support that she needs to accomplish the things that her dad feels that she's capable of. It's just like, here's none of the tools, but all of the expectations, all of the potential I think you have, but I don't recognize your new limitations, and I don't recognize what point and part I play in potentially helping you gain a better footing.
Yeah, man, like, I have to ask myself a question here, because like, in this whole framing of, like, the whole thing about, like, you know, escapism and whatnot, and like fantasy having the power to, you know, help you to stabilize you, to give you something for your living life, but also, like, you know, you have to actually remain in your actual real life. Like, you shouldn't lose yourself in that escapism. But like, when you're disabled like that, at what point is that, like, something that you can really demand? Like, at what point do you have to tell a disabled person who has, like, very limited options for their real life, like, you know, hey, get off that thing, start living in the real world? I do think, like, maybe I
think it is a question of the ease at which we make it available to them. You can't like, someone made the exact comment right here. I'm just gonna read it. ADA disability compliance is a bare minimum, isn't necessarily comfortable for the disabled to navigate. Creative spaces for the disabled takes more work than most are willing to give. You can't limit what you're willing to give someone and then expect them to meet your bottom line, your baseline, but not give them the ability to better reach it. You can't ask both. Like, in that situation, you have to recognize that you are being, at the very least, in the most basic level, unfair. That is an unfair ask. That is an unreachable ask. You are asking someone to attain to something that they cannot do.
Yeah, when you started talking about like the way that her family treats Mael, I started arriving at like kind of a conclusion for now for myself. That like, you know, it's not just up to them, to the disabled people themselves to you know, to get into the real world, but like they also need to be met halfway to allow them to do that. Like, yeah, that's one of those, again, one of those things where you have to meet people in the middle, where you have to actually communicate and choose that third option.
I can promise you most people want independence. They don't want to lean on others, but there are certain instances where people are limited and they say that they need help, and then you can't be like, well, I can't give you anymore. You have to work with what I give you. Some people will make it do, but it won't be perfect. And there are others that won't be able to make do at all. And then you can't look at them and be like, oh, this is the best that you can do. More people will need help than some other people will. And yes, there are people that certainly resign themselves from certain things. Has been like, oh, well, I can't do it, so I'm just not going to try. But I don't think that's the greater majority of people. Most people want to be in society, living and participating, because the alternate is desperately isolating and lonely. But you can't expect something from them that you're not giving them the tools to be able to do. Especially when we as a society very much want people that are disabled to sort of not be in the forefront. We want them to sort of exist in the background, because it shows what we in ourselves are one, either potentially capable of being born with or one accident away from. We don't like seeing things like that. That's why we tend to stare. And she, let's be real, will be stared at. Mael will 100% be stared at. So I understand why she just stays in her room. But people are just like, oh, this is still better. And I am imploring people to do some critical thinking of how. I'm not saying her staying in the painting is inherently better for her, but how is living this life better for her? Because it's one of two things. Either you're saying this limited life of where she's not capable of very much without better help is better, or you're saying you don't care. And it's one or the other. Either you haven't really thought about it, or you don't care. And that's why I am as strong about her. Is not because I feel that she needs it. It's just I feel like so many people are deliberately rendering it down, because it is a commentary on the greater way of which we view the disabled.
Yeah, damn. I have nothing to add. That is a damn good point.
And I'm not saying I fully blame people, but I do think that it's one of those things that requires a decent emotional maturity to acknowledge and unwind and unpack. I'm not saying I'm doing it perfectly either, but I at least recognize what it is. I at least recognize that it exists. Which, again, is the first step which we should do. Do I think that Mael should stay inside? No, but I do think I can at least understand that until the world better catches up to accept her, why she would want to. That's the difference. I'm not saying it's better for her, but I'm saying I can understand that living in a society that doesn't accept her, why it would seem better. That's the difference. So I just want people to know that the game is not as direct as they want to be. Like, oh, this is a better ending for everyone. Is it? Clair doesn't look like she's solved anything. She still wants to go to war. That's not a good thing. Do I think the writers have it coming to a degree? That's neither here nor there, because I do think to some degree, yes. Because I think I would also be like, you know, like he said, Renoir said this was a fight going on long before them, and they got pulled into it. And I think that, again, he recognizes too late that this is part of a greater thing, that it's just, this is one instance in a far bigger war that shouldn't have gone on this long. So that's why I like Renoir's character. He at the very least seems to get it, doesn't like it, but knows that there's some things that can't be undone. So.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna change my title to a local Renoir apologist.
I love Renoir as a character.
Yeah.
Not the painted, the actual version. He seems to get it. Do I think that he's got issues, especially with how he was like mowing over Mael in the conversation? Yeah, 110%. He absolutely has issues. But at the same time, I understand how his like Phantom probably thinks what he does. It's just that we don't hear him say it because he's on the screen so for such a limited amount of time. Because he's mostly the curator who's got like no voice. So yeah. I am fascinated by what his Phantom has to say, is that it does seem deeply reflective of the fact that he's like, you know, here I have my son suffering. He doesn't even, I think he's one of the few people that doesn't fully blame Mael, and that's why I adore him, is that he knows that this is probably a result of the way his fractured family is. He needs them to be together to try and get them, but I do think that he's so short-sighted that his Phantom is the other half of him. The part that only can see the far expanded picture. And that's why I love him as a character, is that the two parts of him, the Phantom that's younger can see everything, the giant picture things, whereas him in front simply needs the present to be fixed before anything else can happen. And it's because we can see those two parts of him that I like him. I think he's one of the characters other than Mael that we see the greatest expanse of how he is as a person. And that's why I like him. Clair, I have love and hate with. Very much love and hate. I do think that it's sad that we had to go through the entire gauntlet to get her POV on things, where she's just like, you know, if you don't like this life, then do something. You don't owe it to anyone else. I adore that, but I'm pissed that it took that long, because she just seems like such a cunt. God.
That's very much one of those heartbreaking, worst person you know has a good point things.
Yeah. God damn it, bitch, let me hit you. You make a damn good point. Yes. Because that's what she is. She literally is the only person that says, oh, I want to go figure out exactly what she's like.
Meanwhile, I'm just skimming through my notes to see if there's any little point I still want to bring up.
Oh, I'm annoying. I wish I could see what she says exactly. Damn. I have to listen to the video, which sucks. But I'd have to figure it out. I'd have to go watch it. But basically, I remember what she says is partly, you know, that you don't owe, if you're not having fun, do something that you will be having fun. You don't owe our dad anything, you know, you don't owe anyone a life that you don't feel like was worth living. That is what I wish everyone from this entire game would come out. Is that I feel like is the greatest lesson from this entire game. You don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe them a life that you don't feel is right. But sometimes we get caught up in this idea of trying to do things for other people because we don't want to disappoint them. You don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe them a life that doesn't feel right. If you're not having fun, do something else. You're still alive. That's why I feel like her ending, Mael's ending in some ways is a good one. I wouldn't say it's the better one, but I do understand the hope in it, is that she's trying to do something else. She's trying to say that, you know, maybe one more time, you'll finally see that there's some hope to this all. Because clearly, let's be real, I'm fairly certain that was fucking Verso's kid. I'm fairly certain the hand of the kid that she's holding was Verso's kid. I'm fairly certain. Besides, if you look at the lyrics of, I think, one of the songs, there is an actual part in there where it makes a reference to, like, Verso and Luna having a kid.
Oh, well then.
I think it's the Mael song. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Mael has her life to paint, for us her canvas erased. Verso in the night, one so close. Someone printed it. It says man. Someone says that it's supposed to say loon, but it's actually pronounced lune, so close to him. Verso in the night, the moon so close to him. Lune is specifically what it says. Moon so close to him. So, yeah. Yeah, it says right here. The lyrics translate to I love you forever. I'll dream again. I'll cry again. Love, forget, and dream. I'll cry for you. Male, she has a life to paint. For us, her canvas erased. Alicia, a life to paint. Verso in the night. Lune close to him. So. It does kind of, in her song, indicate the way her ending is going to go. That was his choice. Was Lune. Was his choice. So.
Interesting. Like, they do fit together in a sense in this because like they are both very like heady.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. They also have like this. There's some certain like parallels going on between some things. Where did I write those down? Like there's parallels between. Hang on.
Yeah.
Freaking notes.
No.
I don't know. I'll just do it from memory. Like Lune, like the Descendre kids, has like all these expectations put upon her, and feels like her life is defined by those. Meanwhile, Ciel has that parallel between her and Aline in the sense that like she had that moment where she like grieved so much that she just ran out there and wanted to throw it all away.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the freaking thing that like.
I think that's an interesting way to put it.
Also, the thing that Mael lost a brother at the same age twice.
Oh God, you bastard! That's true. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Someone else. Oh my God! I think that's a bitch, bruh.
Yeah.
That's so mean.
It is. Oh man, it really is about cycles, isn't it? In some way. And like that's part of why I want to talk about like narratives. Because like these, you know, all these cycles of violence and whatnot, like they are perpetuated by narratives and art. Also, like why is this game about, you know, why is this game that's about art also about death? You know, like part of that is because like freaking narratives, like art is a narrative, it tells a story. And we tell ourselves stories as humans, as living beings, to make sense of things. And, you know, like Verso has that internalized narrative about himself, about what he means, what his, you know, role is in this grand, like, godly play that's being put on here. And there's the narratives that parents impose on their children about like what their roles are, pressing them into those roles. And you know, that whole war between writers and painters, like that's definitely, we don't know anything about that, but that stuff is also fueled by narratives about like us versus them. Yeah, like even we also even see it like in the way that the people in the canvas deal with their whole situation, and the way they you know, have this narrative about the expeditions. They make narratives about the gommage, about the paintress. They made this like ritual about the gommage, like making it kind of like a pre-wake, you know.
Keep talking. 1 minute.
And then, yeah, Renoir Renoir has his narrative about his family that he's trying to hold on to. Like I said earlier, like the way he's talking about very absolute statements, like, there's for instance, like, freaking Renoir, he just can't get out of his skin. Like those two endgame Nevrons, the aberrations, those sword-like things, and his the création, the big bull-like monster thing. Those are interesting. Like they both have like this black hole thing going on, which feels like the void that like the void of death that their whole life has been revolving around. And then the aberration, it's like it took me way too long to notice this, but like it's made up of two people holding one sword, one feminine person and one masculine person, like grasping one sword with this void in the middle of it. And I just noticed that when I watched that video essay yesterday, it wasn't even pointed out, but like when you see the room with the canvas in it, there's this giant golden statue that looks like a création, like above it, on like hanging across the ceiling of that room. And it really feels like he's putting into these Nevrons this idea of like, we need to come together as a couple again and like to work towards one goal, and like you need to come outside into the real world where that's represented by this thing that's like on top of the room where the real version of this canvas is. Like that freaking guy. And yeah, also the fact that like during the last battle, like he his last power-up for his last phase is him summoning the Descendre family canvas, walking into it and coming back out, and like look at this representation of who we should be.
Howie.
Right? Yeah, it's supposed to be you and me, not you against me. This is how things are supposed to be. Which is kind of ironic, seeing how like he says like things, you have to approach things how they are, accept things how they are, not as you want them to be. So that is the downside of like this sort of way of seeing things, which I can speak from personal experience on that. Like I've mentioned that like I kind of relate to Renoir, to Verso, and part of that is like I tend to be very heady. I tend to like look at these things in this overarching what does it mean kind of way, but like there's downsides, like the fact that you kind of assume that like the very fact that freaking Renoir made these axons to like teach everyone something about themselves is putting himself above them. Like that is very much like simple enough to see. Like that is very obvious. I think that's also like why Clair was so intent on destroying her, because like fuck that, you don't get to tell me that. And then, it tends to lead you to this place where you think you just have the answers, and that, like, just having the answers should fix everything like he wanted to do. Like, I had these personal experiences in, like, therapy, where, we would have these group therapies, where people were talking about their issues and stuff, and I would always find myself in the position where, like, I think about it and I'm like, oh wait, I get it. So like, the problem is this, and the way you can fix this is this. And then, I bring that up and I feel smart and stuff, and then they're like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then they kind of like, they keep talking, about the problem. Like, it's still there, and I'm like, but why are you still talking about that? Like, it should be fixed now.
Okay,
I gave you the solution. And yeah, I realize by now, like, that's ridiculous, because like that's not how people work. You can't just give people like a truth and say and assume that like that it works that way, that you can just fix things that way. It denies the complexity of life. And yeah, like it's abstract, and abstraction always, you know, removes the details, removes why these things are so difficult. Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you one more question? Because I think we're starting to wind down, but there is one question I really wanted to ask you that you mentioned right when we were ending the stream, whenever we did the ending, and you said that I had, I think, changed your opinion on something. Do tell.
Mm-hmm. What? I don't remember anymore.
I remember you said it in there. You said I changed, like you had originally decided you were going to go with verses in there or something, and then you changed your mind based on what you said here. Yes, do tell.
Yeah, I just think, like, you know, if I hadn't been so involved in these streams with like you and everyone else being so passionate about like the inner worlds of these, you know, quote unquote fake people, of like, you know, the responsibility you have to them, like the things you owe them as actual real people. Like, yeah, I think if I hadn't been involved in that so much, I would have been like, no, the meaning of this has to be like against, you know, against the, you know, escapism and stuff like that. And so that has to be like the better thing, right? And I guess I would have seen myself reaffirmed in that by seeing Noelle's ending and seeing like how it's kind of like incomplete and not quite what it should be, you know. But yeah, it's easy for me to get like disconnected from that sort of thing. Hi there, Yolin.
I think.
And, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finished.
No, that's really all. Like, disconnection is another big old thing in this whole stuff.
Do you think it's somewhat reflective of the way that we as a society treat people that are in our circle and versus not in our circle?
I'm not sure, because like you start. Sorry, I just got a weird TTS. Right?
You're fine. To expand it slightly, for what I mean, is it sort of like the idea that, you know, you're not in my family, you're not in my social circle, so what inherently happens to you isn't something I need to be concerned with.
I'm not sure about that, because like we start in the like with the canvas people being treated as perfectly real. So like I think instinctively people are going to be on the side that like they are real, they are my inner circle, which is why
but
I
not
don't
everybody
think
feels that way.
Yeah, which is why I don't think that like the people who think Verso's ending is the better one are necessarily, you know, the majority. It's just, you know,
actually, you would be a bit wrong. Most people genuinely do feel that Verso's ending is the better ending.
I mean, I don't know where
Reddit, Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah, but like, I think that, like I said, like those are just the loudest. Those are the ones who would be like, yeah, here's the truth and stuff. Hi there, Jonas. So, yeah, just instinctively, I think we would tend towards like treating the you know, the people we meet first as like our in group. We also just, you know, we get to see much more of their inner lives and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Because there are some people that genuinely do not, regardless of what ending they picked, do not feel the people of the Candace are real. Not their what happens to them is desperately inconsequential.
Huh.
Because to that end, I think that, and this is the question that I asked on stream, is I'm like, if they're not real, why should I give a shit what happens to Verso either? He's not real. You know? People are like, well, he's real in his world. Okay, but he's not real in our world. I think that's one of those things you have to be very careful making that argument. Is that if you're saying, well, he's not real in their world, but he's not real in ours, so why should I give a shit? And then people are like, oh my God, well, you're evil. Why? Because I can take what you're saying one step further? Like, I think that's the reason, is that, you know, if you've ever like tried to, like, I'm not sure like how, like, okay, because you do like drawing and stuff, right? You do actual art. Have you ever had an idea for an art piece that came out very differently than what you intended?
Sure.
Sort of like it had a mind of its own, right? Same thing. That's the way that I see the people in the Candace, the people in there, is that they have, no matter what you want, the way you feel. Because if they had been somewhat more idealized people, Sophie wouldn't, like, she was the only one around her that felt the ability to have empathy for the paintress. Most didn't. You know, in an idealized world, she'd be like, oh yeah, that's so evil. She would have had a very limited view. They were as human-like as they could have been. So ignoring that, I feel like, is somewhat of an extension, sort of the way that some people treat people IRL, is that, you know, oh, you're not someone that I know, so you're not someone that I feel the need to care about. What happens to you is irrelevant. You're not someone I know. Like, you can have surface level, like apathy for people, but you're just sort of like, not my problem, not my person.
So you're saying that once people learned that, like, that the Canvas people aren't, like, quote unquote real people, they kind of flip the switch and were like, yeah, those are
it's hard to
people.
flip it back. Yeah, they're like, oh, they're not real evil. I don't care.
Oh.
Especially, it's like in the game, like, because there are some people that can certainly do that, because it's just sort of like, oh, well, they're not real to this world, so I can get how you would just be like, you're in my way.
That's
whereas like I think part of the reason that I was able to care was a twofold reason, is that even I, as a human being here, like, it's just sort of like, if ever someone's in an accident, you know, there's some people that are like, let's say, like, here, our present world, you're watching the news, something happens to someone, even if you don't know them, you're like, oh, that's terrible. Some people are like, things happen. It's the same thing. It's more removed from you and your life, so it's easier to have a neutral opinion about it, if not a dismissive one outright. Some people only have so much capacity to care about things that are relative to their own world. And that's what I was wondering, if that might be part of the way that, like, unfortunately Renoir is it a convenient truth to dehumanize the painting of the game? I think it is. I think it's a convenient truth for them, especially when you consider that when the paintress is forced out of the painting, she starts, like, we're shown through Renoir that she's ill, that this whole thing is taking a toll, that her being in the painting has brought her to, you know, her quality of life has degraded. So I think realizing and rationalizing them as not real people makes it easier for him to get rid of it, because it's his actual wife. It's easy for him to be like, you all, I get it, you're real and you're caught up in this, but you're also not, and I can't have my wife lose herself in here and die. So I need you to not be real. I am being like, yo, you're real, but not really. So I kind of need you to get out of the way for my real people. Like, even like Verso says it, you painters, you come in and you think that there's no real harm to what you're doing. Same thing. It's that sort of godlike removed thing. Hey, you're not real. I don't really have to think a lot of it. I can feel bad, but in the end, you're not real. You're kind of just a thing I need out of my way.
It's an interesting little case study in, like, you know, what was the word? Disconnection? About
Yeah.
like, yeah. Because on the one hand, like, you have this disconnect between like the quote unquote real world in the context of the game and the painting world, but then the world in the game itself, like, you know, it's a video game, so you're seeing the whole thing, and just the whole thing in itself is also not real. So like, the video game only has meaning and only affects you in so much as you apply meaning to it. So I don't know, it's very interesting about like, what do you choose to care about and why? Huh. I don't know, I don't have anywhere to go with that, or just an interesting observation.
Sometimes you just say things. It doesn't have to point to it. I think it's just one of those things that like, you say it, you put it in the universe. Males ending, I do prefer versus get docked. They will live a life that feels full. Her family can still do exactly what they were going to do when they were in the grieving. I firmly believe it will look the same with or without male there. I agree with that very, very heavy statement. I think it's gonna kind of look the same whether she's there or not. I think in some regards, even if you make the assumption that her ending is, you know, that her being real and there, she will eventually, to a degree, she will have to take a back seat until they deal with the things that are immediately in front of them. That's sort of like what this family is sort of about. Until Claire's revenge is resolved, she's not really gonna give a shit too much for what's around her. Because even with trying to get, some people would be like, oh, well, Claire got Mael up and out of bed to serve her own ends. Like, let's not pretend here. She was in there and it definitely served a purpose, but it was a means to her end. If now that Mael is out of the way, they're going to continue what they're doing until that's come to a better resolution to where they can pay attention to her. Because she's just going to be up in her room again, like she was. Thank you for the lurk, sweetie. Please, if you enjoy any of my content or words, please consider following. And my community, if you're not following, please consider following Teiyu.
Yes.
You may become very familiar with my face. Might as well follow now. But I actually kind of agree with that. Like, it would be like how much, because he just says that child, it will get better, I promise you. But even in the end, he doesn't give her a glance. He's just holding on to his wife. Like, he literally, if you rewatch the ending, he's looking down and literally he's looking over his wife's head and then he looks down to hold her. He does not glance at his daughter in the slightest. So it's like, I'm trying to focus on the present, on what I've been able to finally attain through all of the things that I've done. Her being there, I thought if Mael hadn't have been there, nobody really considered it a whole lot, because nobody seemed to be that much concerned with her up in her room the entire time before the fire. She was still up in her room reading, and nobody really seemed to give a shit. It was just because she had a fuck ton of books in there. Like, she was comfortable where she was, and nobody really did anything to change it. I will be real, I was that girl in high school and in middle school. I just read, and I kind of just wanted to, like, I didn't really exist within my family. My family didn't really understand me. I didn't really understand them. I just read books. Like, I get it. It takes a lot for someone to really reach out and care about you. And the whole point that she went to the writers, in my opinion, is that she didn't. The humanity of a character in a story is based on the viewer's understanding that there is more to the person to make them human than the story has time to deliver. Very true. Very true. Similar, if we have the same conclusion about other group based on our one-sided, partial, limited experience, we have with them, it takes effort to recognize and adapt to people you don't know very, very well, and overlooking this is very easy to do for the motivation to do so. Yes, if you have time to ignore that someone's humanity, people tend to do that. I've said that in this channel before, that unfortunately, we as humans only have so much time and room in our brains for things to occupy, so that which we can dismiss to make our lives easier, we will. That's what I'm saying, is that how much time do we really have to spare to the people in front of us sometimes? Unless they have something, unless they're interested in you, unless they have something to gain out of you, some people will tend to ignore, because trying to look into it and get the truth, get the heart of the matter, takes more time than they can spare when they have their own lives going on. It sucks, but people are inherently selfish. It takes a lot not to be selfish, and I don't blame them, because again, people think about everything you deal with in your day, and then trying to understand every person that you come across to understand why they do what they do. You don't have time. It requires too much effort. That's why I tell people that we tend to judge people on what they do, but we judge ourselves by our motivations. We give ourselves the brevity that we won't give to others because we know why we make our choices, but all we can see in other people is what they did. But trying to understand that is a complex and usually labored process that most of us won't be interested in doing. And it sucks, but recognizing that is important.
Yeah, in that sense, I'll agree that like it's similar to the way we treat the out group in real life, in the sense that like people kind of feel like they have to dehumanize the canvas people because the alternative is just too horrible. They want to keep playing the game. They want some closure to the game, so they have to finish it, and they feel like that, you know, part of them feels like, hey, that one ending has to be the good one because, like, I don't know, reasons. And so like I have to just say to myself, like, hey, it's not real. Like, they're just computer programs or dreams or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's essentially what it comes down to, is that you either have to say that you're comfortable genociding an entire population, or they were never real for it to matter. Like, that's kind of where people kind of come down to on the endings. They're not real, but Versa was, and his family deserves to move on so they can properly grieve, because people understand grief. They understand what it can do. But they're just like, someone's got to live in a life they don't want. You'll be fine. Get out of here. Go to the real world with you. Back to the mom. That's how people are.
Yeah, but just, you know, the idea of just genociding a whole world is just, you can't really comprehend that. So it's like, I guess that's the first thing to go. The thing that you don't really have the capacity to relate to.
You don't have the time. You don't necessarily have the effort.
That's such a... That thing about time is so real too. Which honestly, that reminds me of a book by Michael Ende, who is also the author of The Neverending Story, which is a book that I kind of read back up on for this whole thing, because like it's very interesting how similar they are in a sense. If I may bring that up for a moment. Yeah, Neverending Story. Many of you might be familiar with the movie, but not so much with the book. And the author actually hated the movie because it cut off the second half, which is kind of integral to the whole point of the story. And you know, the first half is pretty much, you know, this real boy, you know, finds a book in an antique store, and the book is apparently magic. It tells the story of this fantasy place, and that is being like consumed by the nothing. It's dying, and it needs like this
traveler.
It needs something. It needs something to combat the nothing. And eventually it turns out that like what it needs is the help of a real person, you know, of a real human, and that is, you know, the boy, who has to give the childlike empress a new name, and, you know, he enters the world itself and is like all super cute and wholesome and stuff. But then
from beyond the fog.
Then, you know, it turns out like he gets to pretty much write the story as it goes on and stuff, and he starts becoming like kind of power hungry. You know, his life in reality sucks. He lost his mother just recently. He gets bullied, and you know, he tries to make this a place where he can feel like powerful, where he can have the life that he wanted. So he, you know, he betrays his friends that he made there. He makes himself, you know, the master, the king, the emperor, etc., etc. He creates terrible monsters to to fight, so he can then act as a hero to save everyone. And he also keeps losing part of himself. Like eventually a hero from the story kind of comes and helps him get back out, but like he would have lost himself, and you know, in becoming the god of this, the new god of this world, in creating his own escapist fantasy. And I think it's a beautiful book in the sense that it shows like both sides of it, in the sense that like this fantasy world needs like someone to give it life, and it's a living thing. Like art is a living thing. It's something that like gives life meaning, honestly. Like where would we be if we didn't have our stories, our narratives, our the things that like go beyond just our lived daily reality and like give meaning to it all. And but then also like, you know, there's the thing about like finding just this one narrative that really suits you, that is just convenient for you. You know, I think that is, especially nowadays, like a real important things, that like people just find these ideas that like just work for them, are nice and easy, and then they can just keep inundating themselves in that, just keep putting themselves in that bubble and not have to leave it, because like that makes them feel comfortable. Yeah.
To the people that came in, we are talking about the ending of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is my cohort. Hey, you and I have been discussing this for quite some time now, so yeah, nice to have you here. Thank you both for the follow. Yeah, that's just what we're doing. We're just talking about this particular game because it has made some interesting commentary since the game came out, but we were just adding to it in our own way.
Yeah. So yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say, honey? We've been at this a while.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised we got so much out of this. Speaks to how you and I are able to converse, my opinion.
Yeah. It's true. What is your opinion on like the worth of art? What is the importance of art?
I think that's a difficult question in some ways, partially due to the fact that so many people, I cannot draw art in the slightest. So I feel like
I just mean art in general.
I think art has a very important place within humanity and the way that we experience, especially when you consider, I do think that there is, how do I phrase this? I do think there is somewhat of an unfortunate fallback when it comes to art, and that it tunes in the fact that only, you know, art is subjective, but not all art is judged the same. If you have art that is worth something to someone, they will see value in it. If you don't have art that is worth something to someone, they won't see value in it. And I think that that's definitely a difficult thing, because a lot of people paint from the heart. They paint because what they want to, but some people will be like, I don't get it. I don't like it. This is worth nothing. And especially when we consider people that sell their art, we have very complex opinions on that as a society. Like, oh, your art's not worth that much. You know, how dare you charge that much for that?
Choco is very indulged in this conversation now.
Well, I do think that's one of the difficulties that I personally have with art, is that I don't think that we as a society are fair to art.
Hmm.
And, you know, especially like if you consider like take hang on. Sorry, I'm still eating lunch. Well, God, what's his name? Van Gogh. He didn't become recognized as a good artist, as a worthwhile artist, until about 100 years after his time has passed. During his lifetime, did you know that his art was actually considered a bunch of dribble?
Oh.
He was not a very renowned artist. He was not valued the same way that he is now. And I think that that sometimes tends to be what happens, is that we don't discover the inherent upsides and the inherent value in some art until after the artist has passed. So they tend to not be able to prospect and rejoice from the fact that their art has been able to touch people. And I get for some people, oh, that's not a big deal. But I think it is. If you put your heart and soul into something, especially if you live a bit of a tortured existence with art, let's see, I don't think that Desange, in my opinion, definitely had the healthiest life. I would consider some of them, especially Verso, a bit of a tortured artist, you know?
Yeah.
In some ways. So I do think that it can be a very confining thing. I think expression in a lot of ways can be a very confining but beautiful thing. Because I'm a writer, but unfortunately, some people will feel that because I've never shown any of my art, any of my writing, I'm not a writer. I haven't published anything, I'm not a writer. So I do think that we tend to both highly value but also very undervalue creative works based on our relationship to them.
Yeah. My take is this. Like, I brought this up before and didn't elaborate on it much because I didn't want to get into this whole tangent already. But like, yeah, why is this game that's about death, also that's about art, also about death, right? Like, it's the main point is supposed to be like, you know, how we approach art, and you know, but then yeah, it's also about death, and I think that is because, like, you know, the way we give meaning to our lives, the way we deal with, like, also the certainty of death and stuff, it's through art, it's through narratives, it's through telling ourselves stories about our meaning, about our place in the world and all that. And also, you know, it's also part of how we make life worth living. There's this debate that comes up sometimes about, like, you know, sciences or art, which one is more important? And I think it's, you know, I mean, I don't think you should make the choice, but like, I could easily argue that art is more important because science is subservient to art. Like, science exists to make sure that we can all have an easy life so that we can spend it on art, on just the beauty, the wonder of living, you know? Sorry about your driving. Thank you for being
I
here.
know. I'm like, when people want to participate, that means that we've done something good, but then they're driving, so it's like, I'm sorry.
Also, hi, Coffee Mancer. Because it's about memories. Interesting. Why did you think it's about memories?
Greetings.
Thank you for the follow, sweetie. Thank you.
Traveler
Hello, nice to meet you.
from beyond the fog.
Also, meanwhile, where else did I want to go with this? Yeah, I think I wanted to go somewhere else with this too, but I lost it.
You said art and memories.
No, I was just reading what Coffee Mancer said. Like, that's an interesting take. Curious whether they, cause Memoria, that's a different game.
I think of the word Memoria. I think of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that's Final Fantasy 9.
That's what it is. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, I think that's probably everything I had to say about that. Yeah. What else? Should I just go through the rest of my notes and like bring up
Sure.
everything that
I do
I've.
want to mention one thing. Do you think that there is a right and wrong answer about art? And do you think who can determine? Do you think only the artist can determine that?
Answer to what?
That question.
The worth of the
Do you
art?
think that there is like a right and wrong answer about art itself? And do you think that only the person that like drew the art, made the art, can determine what that is?
About what the art means, you mean?
Yeah, essentially what it is, what it means. Yeah.
No,
Some people look
no,
at it
no.
and see one thing. Some people look at it and see something else.
No, it's definitely subjective. Like, you don't always know like what goes into the art, even when you're an artist. Like, I mean, that's part of. May I plug something for a moment? Nick?
Sorry, I was looking what someone said. Art can hold memories can be of those who were dead.
Oh, interesting.
You were saying though? Or repeat
Yeah.
the last sentence.
Yeah. Yeah. Art can be subjective because even in part because like even the artist who created it doesn't always know like consciously what went into it. Like subconscious stuff can move into that, which is part of. If I may plug something for a moment, the stuff that I do tomorrow
Sure.
on Sundays. Yeah.
Yes.
Introspective art, where it's basically based on art therapy. And in art therapy, the way we do it at the clinic that I go to, there's a part where you get feedback on what you drew from other people, like they say what they see in it, what it makes them feel and stuff. And oftentimes it's very different, and it can often give you a whole different perspective on what it might mean, what it could mean, like sometimes it can show you stuff that you didn't even realize, like for example maybe like a hey there Buggy, hi Buggy, thank you so much for the raid, I appreciate that so much. oh hello there. Hi there Cat of Meowington. hello oh dear me. Cat of Meowington, hello. Sorry, I had to move you out of the way for a moment. Hey all, thank you so much for the raids. This is Tei, your emotional support animal. I'm I'm a mental health content creator, and right now I hope to make a lot of video essays about like media analysis and like everything that makes life worth living, and to show people the beauty in it all and stuff one day. And right now we're kind of doing something like that. We're talking about the ending of Clair Obscur and our thoughts on the whole thing, and it leads to discussions about like the way we communicate with each other, the way we interact with art, and all that stuff. So yeah.
Hello, Raiders. I'm also here.
Yes. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nania Selenix, resident Snowfall Witch, Yukiona VTuber, and variety streamer. I asked you to be a part of this, and I think it's going absolutely fantastic. It's been delightful to see all the thoughtful people within his community and him meet that we're more than just a bunch of weirdos in mine. We are, don't get me wrong, but we're more than that.
Yeah, thank you for the follows. I really appreciate that. Yeah. We're kind of winding it down. So, yeah, is there anything else you would like to get off your chest?
No, but I would like to plug something.
Please do.
If you played the game and you are interested in doing something a bit more lighthearted, my chat and I tomorrow are going to be like having a fun day where we like go through the different expeditions, and we sort of talk about who would be in what expedition based on people's personalities and what I know about them. It's just supposed to be like a fun thing. Because I asked people the question, if you were in an expedition, which one do you think you'd join? And that kind of led to a a fun thing. And we're also going to be reviewing the massive amounts of Clair memes that are out there. I have to show you one later. Do you know? Do you want to hear a joke that just kills me? It's basically Mael's face saying to telling Verso, "Get back in the piano mines, you bitch," and I'm just like, like, shut up with your nonsensical emotional shit and play that fucking piano.
That's pretty good.
It's so mean. I love it. Exhibition 69. Fuck yeah.
Hell
bro.
yeah.
One of the better ones. Nice. But yeah. Other than that, no, I think we've covered well more than I thought we would. I can't believe we've talked for almost 4 hours. I love how respectful your chat's been. I'm glad mine has been to you as well. That was genuinely all I hoped for and more, and I'm very proud. And if you would like to discuss other games in the future, I would adore nothing more. Genuinely.
Yeah, same.
The best.
You too. So are you gonna keep going for a while after I leave the call,
Probably
or
not. No. So
Okay.
I will probably be ending. So if you would like to read someone together, we can do that. But
okay.
does anyone else here want to add in for anything?
I do want to shout out my writers for a moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Visual Bogey 6, Bogo 6. Big sister type, who I love very much. And I assume you were playing Peak together? I hope you had a good stream. Sorry, I usually give a lot more time to my raiders, but you know, I'm a little overwhelmed right now with everything going on.
It's very nice to meet you, Raiders.
Yeah. And yeah, you're playing Peak together, I guess. Yeah. I hope you had fun. He's gonna, yeah. Okay. So yeah, is there anyone you would like to raid together?
I don't know. Making Mish the top. Hell yeah, that's what we want to see.
I gotta play that game some
top
point.
of my head that I can think of.
Raid Train. I mean, I can suggest someone.
Sure, go for it. As a last minute thing, please, my community, if you would please, if you have not already followed Tayu, please do so. I will not tell your community what to do, but I will tell mine. You better fucking do it.
I'll tell my community what to do. Y'all follow me. If you're into smart people and about caring people, then
Yeah,
do
smart
it.
chat.
Yeah. See, man, I was totally prepared to raid you. You want to just raid Gear?
Sure.
Because he's our common friend. Let's do
Sure,
that.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you for the follow. Finally got you in your thickness.
It's been very nice to meet Tayu's community. Please become aware of the fact that I'm not going away. You will get to know me, whether you like it or not.
Greetings.
Yeah.
Hi,
Traveler
Cat behind it. I love
from
your
beyond
name. It's
the
the
fog.
cutest thing ever. Hi. I genuinely enjoyed this. I genuinely hoped it. I knew it was a bit outside what I normally did, but I wanted people to enjoy this, and I thought Tayu was a good person to do this with. So.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
What? Your name's cute. Hello there, honey. It's nice to meet you. I'm a nice person. I just like the F word a lot. That's all. would like to, please consider joining the Discord. Teo also has a Discord for his own community. If you would like to potentially join his as well.
A new vow.
So,
An anonymous
feel free to
user
join
gifted
one,
a tier 1
either,
sub to Kato
or both.
_
Both is
Arrington.
great. That way you can enjoy both communities with their own varied stuff. Teo also has a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. Thank you everyone that was watching on YouTube. Thank you all of my community. We'll be live tomorrow. Don't forget the journal stream is tomorrow. If you want to have fun, a nice wind down from this game after this very serious talk, that's the one. I will be live at normal time, 2 p.m. EST. I thank you, my community, a ton for being here. I thank Teo's community very much for putting up with me. Genuinely, I have adored all of you. That's all I've got now.
Greetings.
You don't have to go home, but
Traveler
you can't stay here.
from beyond the fog.
Enjoy the emotes. Enjoy the emotes, sweetie. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much more. I hope the rest of your drive goes well, sweetie. You got anything you want to end on, Teo, since I've manipulated the last minute and a half?
Yeah, I'll be streaming introspective art tomorrow, which if you enjoy art, if you enjoy having thoughts about art, and all that's good stuff, well, please come there and participate. And yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Teo and I are on different time zones, so you can enjoy both of us. I would genuinely recommend people do that. I hope you all have a fantastic one. Hope all of you, I know it's summer, try to stay warm, try to stay cool. Teo, trying to stay cool, my little goat man.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Purify,
No,
for joining me.
no worries.
Mwah. Thank you, everyone. That's all I've got. If you want to keep talking, they won't be able to hear you, Teo.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.